oh my God, you hit the like button too soon. What are you doing, show? This is crazy.
There's no way out of it now, Sean. We're unfortunately live, and there's actually people watching us, which is actually the bigger, scariest thing of all.
Exactly. So first of all, hello, anyone who's here now. Thank you so much. We see you. We love you. Right. I am Sean. This is
Show. How are you?
lovely, lovely. We are two absolutely bonkers Irish lads who have decided to forego sleep for the next 24 hours because we just really wanted to talk about Star Trek, really. And no, we're obviously here for a serious reason. First of all, who are we? We're Show and Sean. We are the hosts of the Clone Star podcast, which is a Star Trek pod, which is we talk about different seasons / movies of Trek every single week. And every single week, we tend to disagree on what the best episodes of Star Trek are. But sure, listen, disagreement keeps us alive. We were both deeply affected by what's happening in the Ukraine at the moment, and we wanted to do something. We just didn't know what. And credit where credit is due, this wonderful man who is joining me, Joseph, came up with this idea of doing a 24-hour podcast stream. So over the next 24 hours, the full list is over on the various socials on Twitter. I have it up on Instagram, I think, as well. Show, did you tell me it's on Facebook as well?
No, it's not, but we can put it there later on.
We can put it there later on. And you're going to hear from a load of different hosts. There's going to be different themes throughout the evening and into tomorrow. There's going to be some which are about make as much sense as it sounds. We have comedians joining us. It's going to be a good time. The link to the fundraiser is in the comments on this video. And look, just by being here and supporting us, you're doing so much. But if you can donate anything, literally every penny, every cent, everything goes a long way. So please, just donate whatever you can. It is all going toward the British Red Cross for their humanitarian efforts in the Ukraine. So, okay, so that's why we're here. So, Show, what the hell are we doing?
What we're going to do now is to kick off the entire event is Sean and myself are going to do what we normally do, which is we're going to take 5 episodes and just discuss them. So what we agreed was, as we were going back through the whole seasons, we said this time we'd pick 5 of our favorite episodes across the different Star Trek series. But as usual, we don't tell each other what we've picked. So we have no idea what we're picking. So I don't know what Sean has picked and Sean doesn't know what I've picked. So without further ado, we may as well just get straight back into it. So Sean, as usual, you get the first pick. So you tell me, what is your first episode?
I will jump straight in. And do you know what I do? Because we don't normally get this reaction. I just want to say really quickly, thank you so much. I see you in the live chat, folks. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, CDN student. Thank you. I'm so sorry for the pronunciation. Is it Iha again? What a great username. And thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone who is live with us. Please get involved. Get chatting. We will do our best. We will keep looking back at the comments. Now, right, Show. So how do I condense 860 odd hours into 5 episodes? Simple. I start with The Visitor from DS9.
Oh yes, and we've discussed that before. I always consider The Visitor probably the best episode to introduce someone, a non-Star Trek person, to Star Trek because of its the emotional kind of weight of the episode and things like that.
Well, that's it. So, because you're right, because in a way, like there's many reasons I love The Visitor, but it is lore heavy in a way because it depends on you knowing who Jake Sisko is, obviously knowing who Captain Sisko is, and how he interacts with the different characters. And also, there's the vague backdrop as well of, I suppose, the Klingon conflict, which had just kicked off in season 4. So there's like, in a way, oh my God, there's so much backstory. And yet, you need none of it to really enjoy the episode. I'm just literally writing down, The Visitor equals tears equals the boss, Tony Todd.
I was trying to get my partner in. Well, no, I was trying to get her into Star Trek. I was just trying to show her an episode or 2 of Star Trek, and I was kind of there going, "What can I show her that would actually that you don't need to have any clue of what's actually going on, and that you'd actually be able to enjoy it?" So we sat down and watched it one morning, and when it ended, I was there going, "So what did you think?" And she was there, "No, it's very good." And I said, "Do you think you'd ever watch it again?" She was there, "No, absolutely not, but I really did enjoy that episode."
I guess I'll take the win,
Mhm.
because it's a solid hour. Obviously, it's sci-fi by the very nature of the fact that Ben gets zapped into limbo. So, it's there's your sci-fi nature. But then, of course, it's all about how Jake reacts. Like, The Visitor is a Jake episode. It's not a Ben episode, and it's not nobody else. And Sirach Lofton, for the parts where he is playing Jake, I think does a bloody good job, because that was some heavy lifting that he had to do. But of course, yes, as I say, my man crush, who is Tony Todd. So although I had already seen him as Kern, of course, um, for some reason the ridges just hid him from me. And I always think of this episode when I think of Tony Todd in Star Trek, even though, of course, he appears as a Hirogen in Voyager as well. See, I know his connections. I know his connections. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've probably now missed an appearance now that I've said that. But Andrea, Nicole, Stephen, thank you so much. We see you there. Thank you. Um, but why do I love this episode so much? It's because it's very simple. It is about love. It's about loss. It's about not being able to deal with grief as well. So you're absolutely right in that it is an excellent introduction episode for Star Trek, and even though it's not a it's not a light one by any means. It's not like a feel good. I'm thinking of episodes like Cupid or Take Me Out to the Holosuite, which they're played for comedy. It's just like, let's have a good time for however long. Whereas this is kind of like, how are you getting on? Sit down now, shut up and have a glass of wine, and we'll get through this together.
I think as well with the episode, you're left guessing what the final say solution is going to be right up to the very end, because everything that Jake tries doesn't work, and it's a heartbreaker from a point of view of he stalls his entire life, he stalls his relationship, he stalls his marriage, having kids and things like that, and you're kind of there going, you're kind of thinking then going like, but there's no way he can bring Cisco back and then still be the old man, as in Jake being a kind of an older person. And it's kind of like we discussed this before. What's really great about it is the end. It ends really quick, and when Cisco is brought back into the past and he avoids the electricity bolt, and you don't need more than that. You don't need to kind of have a kind of an epilogue to it from there, like, because it's enough to know that Ben Sisko knows what has happened if he had been hit and what Jake has done to kind of protect him. It's one of those episodes as well that, like, we had discussed, like, Best of Both Worlds having, say, Family as a sequel. We discussed how Chain of Command we felt should have had a sequel. This is an episode you'd think that should have had something kind of after it. While the episode ends exactly where it needs to end, it would have kind of helped, I think, if this had said something straight after it, or maybe episodes later, just kind of go through a bit more of the kind of, say, Ben Sisko dealing with what he had experienced through all this.
I agree and I don't. Like, I take your point.
How
But
dare you disagree with me?
I know. Now, the reason I don't think it needs a sequel is because I think DS9, Avery Brooks, and Sirach Lofton had done such an excellent job of building their relationship to this point that this just made perfect sense. Of course, this is how Jake would react. Of course, they love each other deeply. That it wasn't so much of a shock that this is how Jake would have reacted. And I don't think Ben, like that final hug at the end where just everyone is just in pieces crying. I literally cannot watch from old Jake and Ben's last scene together through to that scene on the Defiant. I cannot watch that without crying.
Actually, Peter in the comments says that as well. He said he always gets teary eyed at the end. I was the same. I always have a tear in my eye when the episode ends, because it is, it completely gives you the emotional impact and gives you a lovely emotional ending to it as well.
That's it. And I think their relationship, as it then continues on right through to the end, I don't think it needs a sequel. But I think there is one scene after this. Okay, arguably two. We'll say arguably two scenes after this, which sum up the depth of their relationship again. One is the scene just after Jake has been freed from the power rates in the Reckoning, and he's in the infirmary, and he's just saying, "Dad, I get it. I get everything you've ever been saying about the prophets. This thing could not win. I get it." And the very, very last shot of the entire show, it's just Jake looking out the window. And I think that was a win. I think it was built up by episodes like this, but even though Deep Space Nine was arguably the best overall ensemble up to that point in Star Trek, it was about Jake and Ben. Not every episode, not all of it, but that was one of the core relationships all the way through. So for it to close with that, I think was as perfect. Now I want to see Ben back, please don't get me wrong, but I think that was a perfect ending. Just to shout out Albert, thank you very much. Sarah, thank you very, very much. And Sam was a very interesting question there. What would be a great series or episode to introduce a new person to Star Trek in 2022? And that's a good question.
I showed Lorraine as well, City on the Edge of Forever, and I was kind of surprised she was there going, I much prefer Spock to Kirk. And I was there, well, that's very interesting. I'd still maintain this and possibly the Inner Light. Again, I remember a friend of mine before putting up, someone must have put it up again, same question about what to introduce them with, and they said Best of Both Worlds. I was there going, no, you wouldn't. I don't like, if you wanted, say, maybe an action fan to get into Star Trek, yes, well, Way the Warrior, I suppose, might be better in that situation. But I suppose from point of view of, say, emotional impact and storytelling and character, it's very hard to look beyond this. It really is an absolutely brilliant episode.
It is. I want to give it all of the awards. So in the Ferric Awards, which I have just invented right now, it's getting the Ferric for best episode of that season easily. And I say that against Way of the Warrior as well, which is arguably the best season opener of any season of Star Trek.
I was trying to think of a terrible opener. Oh, hang on a second. Spock's Brain. How dare you say anything
I rewatched
against
that
Spock's
recently.
Brain?
That was not as okay. All right, listen. Before I get myself into deep trouble, so that's the Visitor for me. Show, what is one of your five?
For the crack, I was going to say Spock's Brain, but I won't. It's funny when I go through my list here, all my list, and like you started off as well. I'm not too sure how many kind of straightforward episodes we're going to have because my episodes involve alternate universes and time travel and what if scenarios as well. Also, Nicole and Stephen are saying Spock's Brain is brilliant. So there you go, Sean. That backs up your claim that Spock's Brain is not as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
I tell you, it's fantastic. Kirk walks into there, shoots one of them, wallops another one. Kirk has gone crazy in that episode. Anyway,
Brain and Brain. What is Brain? No, I'm going to start off with the original series because we're now discussing it, and I'm going to pick one that neither of us picked when we did our season 2 recap because we both thought the other person was going to pick it, and I'm going to pick Mirror Mirror.
Oh, good shout.
I watched it back yesterday and I hadn't seen it in a while and I absolutely loved it. It's absolutely brilliant. So the story is the Enterprise is in orbit of the Hawkins, I think it is. I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments there. They're trying to negotiate a kind of a trade settlement with them, and the Hawkins want nothing to do with Starfleet, and because they don't want their dilithium used for weapons, and even if it takes the life of one person, then that's enough for them to kind of say no. So that's fine. So the landing party of Kirk, McCoy, Scotty, and Uhura are beaming back to the Enterprise, but there's a storm. And when they're beaming up, there's an issue with the transporter, and the away team materializes on the transporter pad, but it seems to be a different universe. And Spock has this wonderful goatee, and he's also got a really cool new uniform as well.
Yes,
and it turns out they're on a completely different Enterprise, a very violent Enterprise, a very violent kind of universe that they've arrived in. And basically the episode then is them trying to very quickly find a way out before they're actually murdered. Now I think nearly everybody has seen the Mirror Universe episodes, if not here in DS9, but effectively like murder is kind of your main way to kind of get ahead on the ship. So they're kind of quite worried about not getting caught. It's a brilliant what if kind of premise because like it's everything. What's kind of really kind of I suppose scary about it is everything just looks so similar, yet they're also absolutely ruthless. Like Sulu is brilliant in it because he's desperate to get ahead, and he'll kill anybody. There's a great scene where he's listening in on Spock's communications with Starfleet as well. But again, like I've waxed lyrical about Spock 100 million times, and I'll do so again. Spock is brilliant in this episode. He's really kind of he knows something's amiss, but he can't put his finger on it. And Kirk, being the man he is, he's trying to, not destroy the Hawkins, which is the Enterprise's mission if they don't agree to peace. And Kirk, of course, can't do that, which of course puts him at odds with Spock. Spock is given orders then to murder Kirk if he doesn't, destroy the Hawkins the following morning, things like that. It's just one of those episodes where, like, me, I love anything to do with a what if scenario where you see characters in a kind of a different light, and you see kind of how the Enterprise is different, how like what Starfleet would be like. If you even look at, say, taking out the Mirror Universe episodes, if you remember Living Witness in Voyager,
I do,
from
yeah.
yeah, that kind of thing, like, we're kind of perception of Starfleet, that they were completely evil and things like that. So Ia again says that actually in the comments we sort of get a Voyager mirror. I'm assuming you mean Living Witness as well. There's great scenes with the agonizer booth and things like that, with Spock, say, Chief Justice, we're looking for torturing Lieutenant Kyle for this and that. It's so good. It's just the
Oh,
actors playing against type. There's a wonderful scene as well where Kirk is kind of saying, like, if we're here, like, what's going on in the normal Enterprise? And you see then Mirror Kirk being dragged to the brig, and he's, it's wonderful. William Shatner completely hamming it up, and I love when he's thrown in. Then he's kind of ranting. He's there and going, like, "What's going on?" He looks at his uniform. Where's my personal guard? What are these uniforms? And he says to Spock, "Where's your beard?" It's just, it's wonderful, because they're going, of all the things to notice that are missing, like, it's Spock's beard. And again, it's just, in the episode when when they get back to normal space, like, Spock kind of says it's easier for civilized people to exist in a kind of a barbaric world than it is for barbarians to exist in a civilized world, because like, that's kind of the whole thing. That's why we're in caught.
Do you know what, actually, just and then on that, in fairness, Discovery really ran with that line with Emperor Giorgio coming over into the Prime universe. Now, it's up to everyone how well they did or didn't achieve that, but that is definitely, because I have full disclosure, I have not seen Mirror Mirror in quite a while, but so I had forgotten that line. But that is
Like,
literally the storyline of Emperor Giorgio in the Prime timeline.
there's usually great use of stunt doubles as well. I can't remember what episode you said it before, and you said HD has not been kind to this, like, and
Half the original series when it comes to stunts.
yeah, well, there's absolutely the case here. Mirror Spock kind of is trying to cop on what's actually happening, and there's a fight in sickbay, and it is completely obviously, the wide angle suddenly appears, and you're there going, that's clearly not Leonard Nimoy fighting in this situation, and it's extremely awkward to think that we would. It's not now as bad as the Kirk versus Khan fight in Spacey, like, where it's a very tight angle, and you're going, yeah, that's clearly not William Shatner.
Yeah, like, it was Mickey Rooney fighting with Ricardo Montalban in that scene. Like, it was like, all right, but they're kind of looking like, no.
It's like in what was it, in Family Guy? I can't remember the name of the nerd, but he was kind of deconstructing episodes, and they're going, I'm going to basically show you, here's Kirk, this is his stunt double. Here's Kirk again, this is his stunt double. That's his mug. Basically, that's kind of it. Like, you kind of feel the tension in this, because that there's a huge, like, because there's an assassination attempt on Kirk almost immediately in the episodes, really kind of make you kind of feel like there's serious kind of things happening here. And, like, Kirk even plays back his own law, or his kind of service record, to find out exactly what was going, how he ascended to command of Enterprise Space Ergo, and he murdered Captain Pike, and that's how he kind of took over. Like, so it's a cool reference to Christopher Pike as well, that we don't really kind of get too much of anything to do with his command of the Enterprise in the original series.
That's true. Poor L. Pike has had just so many unfortunate things happen to him just throughout all of Star Trek. And, if you think about it, so in the original series alone, he got those Delta rays. Obviously, he got murdered in the Mirror Universe. Yep. Here's Vina. No, actually, no, you're not getting Vina either. Then we're going to send you back. You're now banished to Talos 4. Okay, all right, Grant, that's cool. Then we hop over to the Kelvin universe, and it's like, hey, Captain Pike, you're looking well. Those are some nice legs. Be a shame if anything happened to them, and then we have Benedict Cumbercan, who just fires into that room, and kind of like, as the man clearly needs medical attention, Spock says, "Do you know what I'll do? I'll do a mind meld. This is the perfect time to do this." Sorry, you could do a list on the worst things that have ever happened to Christopher Pike.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the sad things about looking forward to Strange New Worlds. Is you're kind of there going like, as much as we'll probably really enjoy Anson Mount's Captain Pike, you're kind of there going, he's still going to have a really bad experience with Delta Rays, and it's not going to go well for him at all. And that's very kind of sad to know, kind of thing.
It is, but I mean, he seemed to be fairly okay about his fate. Like when he was screaming with fear, I
Mhm.
think that was an exception. Like he was kind of like, that's okay. That's a fine scream of fear in that episode.
This episode contains one of the best lines in all of Star Trek, and I don't think it's one that kind of gets enough credit. When like basically Mirror Spock kind of cops on, look, they shouldn't be here. We need to get them gone. We need our own kind of crew back. And Spock has a conversation with Kirk, and Kirk kind of says to him, like, how long before the Hulkins prediction that the Empire will collapse? And Spock says about 200 years. And then Kirk kind of says to him, like, then basically you're illogical for serving something that's going to, end. Mirror Kirk has a device that he got from a scientist that basically just evaporates his enemy very much immediately. Like it's a secret weapon that only he has. And Kirk tells Spock that it's there in his quarters and he can use it. And when they're talking about it, Kirk or Mirror Spock says to Kirk, he says, one man can't change, or one man can summon the future. And then Kirk says back to him, but one man can change the present. And I think we discussed this before, and I said that to you. I think it's a wonderful line because, as we've often discussed, like that there's certain lines in Star Trek, certain episodes, certain scenarios, and certain scenes and things like that that you can't really fully appreciate until you're kind of older and that you've kind of had a bit of life experience and all that. And this is one I think is exceptional from a point of view of when you kind of go through something bad that happens in your life and things like that, and it's really gotten you down and you feel really sad and things like that, and at some point that brighter days will arrive, that in that situation you can't summon that future to you at all. Like you have to kind of go through what you're going through, but that you can change your present, and every day it is the present for you, and you can try and do something to make even the smallest change. That's what I took away from that, and it's something that I've reminded myself a few times when things haven't been going well, that you can still change just the one day and try and see if it brings a better future then for you. Sorry, no, I got very kind of philosophical and very deep there out of nowhere on that, but I said I'd say it because it's just a line I never really hear repeated, and I think it's a brilliant line of dialogue between the two of them.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's a wonderful thing to pick up from because I think Mirror Mirror tends to get chucked in, both fairly and unfairly, with comedy. Because I think a lot of the Mirror universe, even though they wouldn't be on the surface comedic episodes, it's because it's the fish out of water. It's the kind of everyone's kind of letting loose and having a bit of fun. I think then people can write off some of those Mirror Universe episodes as either not being important or sort of being low stakes because it's not our usual crew.
Yeah.
And then you get something like that, and I think that's a beautiful message to take away from it.
And on that, Sean, that is my first episode done. What is your second episode?
I will go straight into my second episode. I just want to say right now, thank you so much. Our total right now is $1,246 that we have raised. Thank you so much, everyone who has donated. You are all doing you're doing bloody great work. You're doing the founders' work, is what you're doing. Thank you so much, everyone. And no, I am not vamping just while I come up with the second episode in my head. Just really quickly, are we in the Mirror Universe? Sadly, Sam, no. I think we are in the Prime Universe, but that's okay. That's okay. That means there's a lot of good people around us who are here to do some good work. Philosophical Star Trek. No, I know. I was shocked as well. Like I was
outrageous to even make that kind of allegation. Now, to be perfectly honest with you.
Crazy.
Yeah. Nicole, Stephen, please retract that statement as quickly as you possibly can, because that has never happened in Star Trek.
Now, right, my second episode, I'm going to go as well with a light, fluffy episode. Not a lot happens. It's called Tapestry. One of the pure, balls to the wall comedy episodes of The Next Generation.
What season did we discuss before where we always ask each other at the end of the episode, like, what's your favorite moment from this season? I think you said something. I gave some stupidly deep philosophical answer. I think it could have been this. I think we could have done TOS season 2. I think that might have been the case. I think you forgot that was going to be at the end of every podcast we did.
Several times. Yeah,
Yeah.
like several times. Yeah, super like fun stuff. You're absolutely right. Bit of a sleeper episode. You're absolutely right, folks. Yeah. So yes, we open up with Picard dying. There we go. Sort of. This is an episode that I come back to fairly regularly, and I know I've said this to you before, show that I find, for me, this is one of the most oddly uplifting episodes of all of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And it's because of the message behind it. So, it opens up with Picard dying on the bio bed in sickbay, and then he's in the great beyond, and he finds out that the universe is incredibly badly designed, and Q is God. Or at least in this scene, Q is portraying God. And it's wonderful for many reasons.
Yep.
First of all, because Patrick Stewart and John Delancey just have this wonderful, wonderful just dialogue throughout the whole episode. John Delancey is clearly having a ball, while he's not taking the mick either, even though there is some scenes which are pure comedy.
Comedy, totally, yeah.
And then you get this real sense of nostalgia from Patrick Stewart, from Jean-Luc as well, because you kind of see him looking at things and you can see that recognition, even the uniform. He's transported back into the Monster Maroons without the ruffle, so the change of the Monster Maroons. Chris, if you're watching this, there's a video coming on all of the Star Trek uniforms, of which there have been a few. If you blink in Picard at Discovery, 5 more uniforms have been added to the wardrobe. I'm going to go broke, show.
I think as well, sorry, just with this, like in every episode of Q that we've normally had, it's been a case that, Q himself kind of appears and they're not kind of on the Enterprise or whatever, and he's normally got something he wants to do or something like that. And this is totally different in terms of, he just appears in a totally different setting. And it's a totally unique kind of perspective on having Q in an episode. Like it's the most non-Q episode of them all, really.
Exactly. Like, in a way, he is purely there because he can do the finger click and send Jean-Luc through time.
Yeah.
Without him, that doesn't happen. And yet, as you say, it's down to Jean-Luc to make the changes that he feels he needs to make. And it's Sam, no. Challenge me to wear a different uniform for part of that video. Absolutely not. I'll be here till about Sunday. But so Jean-Luc thinks, right, I am on this biobed in the future because my artificial heart has taken damage on an away mission. Therefore, if it wasn't for me, or if it wasn't for that, I would be fine. So what does he do? He goes back to take away the need for the artificial heart, which is, of course, the fight in the bar with the Nausicaans. He takes a knife through the heart, which had been introduced all the way back in Samaritan Snare, that this had happened. And it involves him acting potentially as he would as a captain in the 2360s, but back when he's in his early 20s.
Actually, one thing as well is, sorry, as you said, it was introduced in Samaritan Snare, but it's really well tied into what Picard describes the fight as in Samaritan Snare. Instead of just saying, I've got to a fight with some Nausicaans, he actually describes the fight in Samaritan Snare. And if you compare the two side by side, he gets it very close to what he actually says, which is really kind of cool that they're willing to go back and just double check that. Because, at times, Star Trek is an occasion to reference something previously and then just kind of go, we'll just kind of do our own interpretation. So it's kind of cool that they stuck with it. And as well, actually, the start of the episode as well, this is something that we discussed before. Like, I love sometimes in these episodes, you'll have, say, an incident happens and things like that. And there's no real there's no marks on anyone. There's, their hair is perfect and all that. I love the fact that when they appear in sickbay, like, Riker's got a kind of a graze on his head and the hair is all ruffled and all that kind of thing. It's small things like that I always love seeing, because you actually feel that something has happened rather than they disappear and everything just looks normal as usual. Yeah.
No, I agree. Like, it's the small things that just elevate things just a little bit. When he changes the past, that to me, obviously it is the crux of the episode, and he goes into this future where he never took risks and he never excelled and he never felt that he needed to. Um, I, I find myself revisiting this because I will be a great one, and everyone, you may call me on this. I'll be a great one for going, look, you can't change the past, so don't look back. And of course, you do sometimes, and you second guess, and you think, should I have done that? Should I have done this? Maybe had I turned left, the Doctor would have lived, and Torchwood wouldn't have had to explode. Oh, sorry, different franchise.
But as you were saying as well, like when we discussed this before, like it's very much like almost a callback to Star Trek V, when Cybok is trying to get control of Spock and McCoy and Kirk, and he says he can relieve their pain, and Kirk, being Kirk, of course, is there going, absolutely not. I need my pain. Like, it makes me who I am. Like, should I turn left when I should turn right and all that? So it's a kind of a cool callback to that kind of thing of like, you have to be who you are. Like all the mistakes you've made make you the person you are.
That is, like, you are the sum of your parts, and you, of course, you are more than, which is one of Data's arguments an awful lot, is he is more than just his nuts and bolts. So when, like, a darker show would have left Picard in that turbo lift going, very funny, Q. Q would just be, hey, I gave you the chance. No, you're grand. And so he walks back out, and he would rather accept dying as the man he was than living as the man he had just seen. And that, to me, is powerful. It's uplifting that while something might seem dreadful in the moment because, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Why did I do this? You can't see the tapestry. You're only seeing the thread. We don't get a bird's eye view. We don't have that option in our life. So just keep moving forward. And in a way, I suppose, to tie it slightly back into Mirror, Mirror, you can only change the present. You can't summon the future. You can't, go, or this is supposed to be the opposite. You can't change the past, or if you do, you butterfly affect it. So to me, just to me, Tapestry is an affirming reminder. To really boil it down, it's like, listen, don't worry about what's gone. You just live now.
I think as well the fight scene in it is absolutely brilliant. It's so well done. And I love that when Q gives Picard the chance to go back, and like he's not thrown back to like a different part or something like that. He's thrown into, as the Nausicaan is kind of insulting the three humans, and it's just as a reaction on his face as he kind of looks down as if to say, for the love of God, I have to do this again, and I have to get the knife straight back through my heart one more time. And it's really well done, although in fairness, HD is also not its friend, because you can see that is the guy with a skull cap on. That's not Patrick Stewart. But in fairness, Patrick Stewart does seem to do a lot of the stunts, and again, it makes it completely more realistic. It's really like the music, the whole speed of the fight. It's brilliantly done. It also contains one of the great Riker smiles as well. The episode does, when Picard finally wakes up, and the camera kind of shows Crusher and Riker looking at him, and Riker has a smile. My God, it's absolutely brilliant. I think I said this to you before when I met Jonathan Frakes at Comic-Con in Dublin in 2019. I said that to him, and I was we were just talking about the different Riker kind of pictures, because he was signing whichever one, and I just said one of the best Riker smiles is from Tapestry, and I said it's just this wonderful heartfelt smile to cap off this wonderful episode that kind of Picard is back, and how much these people love him as well. Also, we discussed this before, and at the end of the episode, Picard is talking to Riker, and he says, I don't know if that was real or imaginary, what was it? And I said to you that there's an easy way he could find out. He could just contact Corey, wasn't it? Is that your man's name?
Yeah.
And he could just say to him, listen, the night before that fight with the Nausicaans, did I stop you messing with the Domjot table, or what's the situation there? And that's all I need to do. And I'm kind of there going, the episode completely falls apart for me because of that, because that is a massive plot hole.
Well, do you know what? Spock's beard is silly. Anyway.
Wait a second. You're the one who likes Spock's beard here, or not Spock's beard, Spock's brain. Sorry, you said
exactly.
Spock's beard. Yes, I'm all over the place. Yes.
Beard. Right, oakley dokely. So, now just have a quick look at some of the comments here, and then we'll jump into your next one. Luke Skywalker having on the Book of Boba Fett. I quite enjoyed that. Universe mixing will creep in. Oh, you're damn right it will. Doctor Who reference for the win. You're absolutely right. Are you thinking of Up the Long? I can't finish the title of that episode. It didn't happen. It's not a thing.
That's me actually saying that as
Oh,
well.
I know.
liked it.
I know. The Shoveling Jedi. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Ooh,
Right.
Anna is asking, is Spock's beard a band? I actually think, Anna, you could well be right there. I think I've actually heard that as well. I also didn't realize at all that the band, well, sorry, I should have known. The band T'Pau, who did China in Your Hand, was named after the Vulcan High Priestess. Now for you,
Absolutely it was. Absolutely it was. Joe, all right, pop quiz. Who played her in the original series?
Dame
Nope.
something or other. Yes, that's it. That's who it was.
No, that was the one in Star Trek 3.
I can't remember then.
All right. Anyone who knows the answer, pop it into the comments, and we'll know if you Googled.
I'm sorry, but I have to make this joke now, right? Because every time anytime I make that reference, I have to make this joke, right?
Okay, let's
go. So Batman and Robin are fighting some goons inside in a china shop, right? And then at one point, Batman hits someone over the head with a vase, and he says "T'Pau," and then Robin says, "Batman, don't you mean kapow?" And then Batman says, "No, because I've got china in my hand." Not like it's
Peter, you're absolutely right. It was Cecilia Lovsky. Anyway, show, what is your next episode?
That's a great joke. And anyone in the comments, you can take that and credit me in that situation. I am going to jump ahead a few series, and I'm going to go to Star Trek Voyager, and I am going to pick Timeless. Now, it was a toss-up between Timeless and Scorpion. I'd watched them both back recently, but I kind of feel while Scorpion kind of totally transformed Voyager into what it became for the last few seasons from 4 onwards, I just think Timeless is a bloody brilliant episode. I watched it again today, and it's such a classic episode to watch, and it's a brilliant episode for Harry Kim as well. Because in fairness, we all know that like Harry got the rough end of the stick literally in every shape or form. Like Neelix had a better chance of getting a commission than poor Harry did of getting a promotion, even to Lieutenant Junior grade. The episode starts on an ice planet, and 2 mysterious figures appear, and they say, "We found it." The camera pulls out, and you see basically Voyager, stuck in the ice. Turns out we've gone 15 years into the future. Chakotay and Kim have made it back to Earth, but Voyager didn't. They had created a thing called the quantum slipstream to try and get back, but there was an issue with it. They weren't able to do it properly. Voyager didn't survive it. The Delta Flyer did. So they've come back to try and change history, because of course that's all we ever see in Star Trek is we don't like the way history has gone here, so we're just going to completely change that. Like basically the Visitor is the exact same. Like it's kind of, yeah, that thing happened years ago, and I'm just going to go back and try and change that now.
That is true. And I just have to say, the most random thing ever. So a crossover of fandoms for me, as people may know, I'm a big fan of the medical drama show ER.
Yes.
Chakotay, I cannot for the life of me remember her name. The third person on the Delta Flyer.
Yep.
I can't remember the character's name, I'm afraid.
Tessa. She was Dr. Mark Green's wife.
She was indeed. Christine Harness. Yep. She was in certainly the first, well, she appeared in the first 9 seasons. About as long as Mark Green did. Spoiler. Please continue.
She wasn't exactly the nicest person in ER either. Like in fairness, how could you not like Dr. Mark Green? He was a lovely man. He wasn't though. He was a very angry man a lot of the time as well. Though, in fairness, he was. I loved ER. He was the beating heart and soul of it. Actually, wait a second, because you're on ER. Sorry, now everybody. This is suddenly developed into an ER conversation. Do you
As
remember
it was always going to.
You remember one of the episodes that George Clooney actually references Irish hurling? Yes.
I do. Yes. Now, I mean, it's a while, but yes, I do remember that there is a reference to hurling in Irish.
Yes, he says he wants to.
In Irish? In ER.
He says he's going to go home and watch Irish hurling on ESPN, and there you go. And I always felt Mark Green was more essential to ER than George Clooney's Douglas. But anyway, so he was. Mark Green is a better character. Anyway, now we're going to talk about Harry Kim. So justice for Green, exactly. Poor Mark Green deserved better.
Just really interesting. Shoveling Jedi. Sorry, that's in a fast. I did not know that. C.D. Lovsky, who played T'Pau, and was Peter Lorre's wife. I did not know that. That is quite fascinating.
Samuel, Irish hurling is not a euphemism. Hurling is one of our national sports. So there's two sports with the Gaelic Athletic Association: hurling and Gaelic football. If you've never seen hurling, or have a YouTube on it later. Not in the next 24 hours because you're going to be sitting here watching us for 24 hours. But have a look after that. It's absolutely magnificent. Right. So Timeless. Sorry. Let's get back on track with
Yes.
Timeless here. So basically, Harry is driven by guilt of what he did in terms of not being able to provide correct coordinates to Voyager to kind of get them through the quantum slipstream. And it's kind of one of those things that, like, I was reading the background to it, and they gave him a lot of it because of what he'd done in the Killing Game just before it and things like that. But you also know that if anyone was going to be haunted by this, there was nobody better than Harry to give that to, because in the entire show, Harry was the one who wanted to get home the most. That was always the feeling you kind of got from it, like, because like with the Maquis, you kind of felt that like their home was gone anyway, like, and then when the Dominion had effectively eliminated the Maquis, there was kind of, there was nothing really there for them. Like a lot of them, like Tuvok was going to live until he was 200 years old, so he was fine to survive the 70 years and things like that. So if all the crew that you had there, it was Harry you always felt was the one who was most desperate to get back to Earth. And then when he does get back, if you had to give someone, I suppose, it's almost like it's almost like a Chief O'Brien thing in terms of making someone's life hell. They actually should have done that to Harry Kim a bit more, actually. In terms of they gave him the survivor guilt that he got home, but they never found out what happened to Voyager. But they probably know that the ship didn't survive, and it's him who's kind of driven by it. It was really interesting when he was talking about what he was asking what character in pop culture to kind of look at in terms of motivation. And it was recommended to him to take Mel Gibson's character from Lethal Weapon, of somebody who just doesn't care anymore and is just basically obsessed about one thing and one thing only, and that's the only thing that kind of matters to them. Eventually, they reactivate the Doctor, and the Doctor is kind of trying to help them, which they have to examine Seven's kind of say Borg technology and find out exactly when it was that she was deactivated, because what they're going to do is they've the usual MacGuffin, they found a destroyed thing in the Beta Quadrant, a Borg thing that they can send a message back through time using. And so of
was
course
it on board the artifact, I wonder?
I have no idea. No, hang on a second, because this episode was made in '98, so 15 years later would have been only 2000 and jeepers, I can't even count. 15 years. Help me out here. 2013. So it would have been even 9 years ago, and Picard season 1 was what, 2018, 2019?
Oh yeah,
2019.
All right, so they get back in what, 2370? Right, so 5 years in. What year do they go to the Delta Quadrant? 2371? 2272?
Oh Lord, I don't remember now at all.
Well, first contact uniforms are introduced 2373, which is season 5 of DS9. So which would have been what, season 3 of Voyager?
I think so. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. So look, it probably wasn't the artifact. Let's just say it was. Anyway, so moving on.
Yeah. Grant. Cool. Yeah. It actually is too early for the artifact.
Your obsession with uniforms, Sean, knows absolutely no end.
What are you talking about?
Starfleet also has declared both Chakotay and Kim renegades, because this piece of Borg Borg technology is basically classified, so they stole it. They also stole the Delta Flyer. So as a result, they are now renegades. And of course, they're pursued by the USS Challenger, commanded by the director of this episode, LeVar Burton himself. And he's playing Captain LaForge. And of course, it had to be a Galaxy-class starship, because what else could it actually be? It was interesting as well, reading the behind the scenes on it, is that there was some people that called for this to be a two-parter. But Brannon Braga said no, it had to be just a one-shot kind of thing, and it made more sense, because I'd think the scenes they could have expanded on, probably shown, would be like Chakotay and Kim getting back to Earth and things like that, but it wouldn't have added much to the story. Like, what's really great from the story, like as the episode starts to go into its climax, it keeps on moving between past and present, and you see the Delta Flyer be flying along, and it'll show like Kim and Chakotay, say 15 years ago, talking to Voyager. Then you get an outside shot of the Death of Fire, but then you'd see the USS Challenger following them, and they keep on switching. So the action is happening at the same time in in both timelines. It's really kind of well done, but it has a brilliant last scene when they tried to give Voyager the coordinates, but they still give them the wrong ones, and Voyager is destroyed. So in the end, Harry can't handle it, and he starts to have a bit of a kind of a breakdown because of it. So the Doctor kind of talks to him and says, "Look, if we can't get them all the way home, maybe we can just stop the slipstream. Maybe we can just get them out of it." And Harry kind of realizes actually no, he's right. It's the only other way we can kind of do it. And for most of the episode, Harry keeps on kind of patting the Doctor really hard on his arm. And when Seven's power supply thing runs out, Harry realizes the Doctor's mobile emitter is the only thing that can power it. Like, he's only got a few seconds before the Delta Flyer is destroyed. And when he's going to do that, I love the way the Doctor just kind of gives him a pat in the arm back when Harry says, it's great to have you along. It's excellent. It's a wonderful small bit of kind of camaraderie that you kind of have in it. And it's a brilliant end to the episode. It's absolutely excellent. It has a great scene at the start of Seven being drunk on basically synth as well, because she can't actually handle the booze. It's one of those episodes. It's a 1,000,000% a Voyager episode. No other series could have done this episode, and that's what's absolutely great about it. Like, as I was going back down through this list, I was going back to watching the episodes, and they're all so different. All the different episodes, all the different series, and all that, and all the different feels that they have. And Voyager obviously is, can be much maligned and things like that, but this episode is brilliant. This is one of the best episodes of Star Trek completely. Just with it's like The Visitor. You've got someone who's dealing with grief over something that they've witnessed and been a part of, and that they've spent, the next part of their life obsessing about and trying to kind of repair, almost like Quantum Leap, trying to put right what once went wrong. And that's, kind of basically what the episode is. It's brilliant. It's an excellent episode.
I think, as well, I mean, Garrett Wang possibly does not get enough credit for this episode. I mean,
no,
he was, obviously, there's so much that we're still learning about what was kind of going on behind the scenes on Star Trek Voyager, but he definitely got the short straw when it came to people who, and I'm not making a joke out of this, but when it came to people who kept their jobs on Star Trek Voyager, he got the short straw in terms of storylines. And so it took a while to really see what he could do, which not to say he wasn't good in the first 4 seasons. Of course he was. But I would have loved to have seen more Harry-centric stories, because he can deliver. He delivers every scene of this episode. And recently it was funny when they were coming up with the Bible for what Chakotay was going to be. This is back before Caretaker was even finished being written. They were saying that, he would have this this wonderful, the Forever Ensign. You're absolutely right. They would have this wonderful camaraderie. What's the word I'm looking? Mentor-mentee relationship with Harry Kim. But if you think about it, I struggle to think, other than Timeless, did they really have much scenes together, Chakotay and Harry?
No, they absolutely did not. There's absolutely nothing there. Actually, sorry, I just realized something as well. I forgot to say. There's a scene in this for all the people with the whole Chakotay Janeway love affair thing and all that. The night before they decide to go to the do the mission, they have dinner in Janeway's quarters. Like, it's just basically double entendres left, right, and center. But I was just kind of watching it, just kind of thinking, like, if you're sitting down for dinner after a long day of work, would you really just sit there in your uniform? Would you not just get changed into something else? Just go and
You're asking the wrong person, Joe. I'm not going to lie to you. You're asking the wrong person.
This is your relaxed wear, in fairness.
Absolutely. Crowsdo, greetings from Quito, the city, not the starship. Lovely to hear it. I believe that Harry is still alive in the future Discovery Time, still an ensign. I'm saying it now. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Mike McMahon, if you're watching, and I know you are, we need Harry Kim in Lower Decks, still an ensign. We need it, or possibly demoted to cadet.
But like we said, I definitely think there was room to, but in fairness, when you look at, say, Deadlock, poor Harry, dies in that. You've got Timeless as well. You've got Favorite Son. and things like that. Like there are episodes that kind of had him. What was the is it non sequitur as well from the second season? I think it is when
Yes.
Harry is back on Earth. Like there is actually episodes with him. Like I always liked Harry. I always thought that there was something really kind of like even in Deadlock as well. Like he's the one who saves Naomi Wildman from the Vidians. Like there was just always something there. It just it was definitely with him it was a missed opportunity. There just wasn't enough of him, but when he was given a chance, I don't think he ever let the side down. I always really enjoyed Harry in these episodes, and some light in this that he was absolutely excellent. But he's excellent in both timelines because the constant motivation with him is he wants to get home, and anything that stops that, you can always see how much it gets to him as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was said in the comments there as well that only Harry could have delivered that toast in Endgame.
Yeah,
And it would have been meaningful if anyone said it, but only Harry could have delivered that to say no, it's to the journey.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Sean, that is my second pick. Over to you for your third.
Well, I am gonna take things all the way back in the past. Can we have some Miles O'Brien canon love? Yes, most important man in the universe, Stephen.
Don't worry,
Uh,
Stephen. We have more Miles on its way very soon.
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely do. Now, I'm going to take things all the way back into the past. The clue being what I'm wearing. So there is a second season episode of Enterprise that I remember watching at the time, and I had a big frowny face on me because I had my canon hat on, and I was really like, rah, rah, rah. This is what back in 2002 when I knew so much about the world.
Yes.
And now that I'm older and uglier, I've realized that this is one of the best 45 minutes of Star Trek, certainly of Enterprise, the first two seasons, and that is Regeneration.
Oh, yes.
Regeneration is one of my favorite Borg stories of them all. Because in this, the Borg are bloody terrifying again.
And we've discussed as well before, like that. When I was rewatching Scorpion, it was kind of there was still a threat to them, but like by the end, Voyager had kind of effectively eliminated the threat of the Borg effectively completely, and like
Yeah.
even species A472 were kind of basically reduced to giving Janeway flowers, and so like what. But they were. That's how they ended. One of their characters was Boothby giving Janeway flowers at Starfleet
Oh my God, you're
Academy.
actually
Like,
so right.
I am right. I know I'm right.
You're so right. Oh my God. Yeah, like here you go. Have a flower. Hang on. Would you not give Harry a flower? Don't you think you kind of owe him? No.
But like it's one of those things that like in sometimes you might love a bad character or whatever, you might say, oh, I want to see more, but what happens then is humanization happens, and then explanations, not making them not as bad. And sometimes you're there going, sometimes bad people are just bad people. And with the Borg, they did become less and less and less and less of a threat. By the end of Voyager, they were no threat whatsoever. And at least in Regeneration, like we brought them back to being a proper terrifying threat.
Absolutely, like 100%, 100%. And Stephen, you're dead right as well. Like now that again, I've gone back and revisited the episode many, many times. It's really cleverly done. It
Yeah.
doesn't break canon at all. I just at the time going, "Oh, the Borg shouldn't have seen Starfleet." Blah, blah, blah. No, it's really, really well done. So we open up in the Arctic with that. I cannot praise Brian Tyler's score enough for this episode.
Yeah.
I wonder. Now, see, I think it's well written enough that it would stand on its own. But I wonder if it's like the movie Halloween. Like if you take the music out of Halloween, it's about a guy getting his steps in. But then when you put the Halloween music on it,
For the love of God.
I mean, I'm not wrong. I mean, yeah, okay, he does some stuff when he gets his step count in, but like
Yes.
otherwise, that's the film. But when you put that theme music on it, it becomes one of the scariest slasher films of them all. Asterix, I am open to discussion on that one. But
Yeah.
this episode, this is an excellent script with excellent acting and an incredible score. And this is one I have the music collection for Enterprise, and I listen to this on repeat. It's so tense that if you have to do here's a life hack, guys. If you have to get any job done that you really don't want to do, put this on 40 minutes. You'll be so tense, you'll get everything done because you just want to get to the end. Right, so the actual episode itself, we open up on the Arctic, and there's the clues are there before we get that first shot of the Borg under the ice. There's clues, considering the fact that half of the Enterprise E's filming model is sitting there in the background as basically a gag. There's kind of like there's references to this looks like it possibly a sphere-shaped ship might have crossed here. And it's funny because the entire setup, right up until that drone wakes up. Yes, Sam, working on it. Right up until that drone wakes up.
Sorry, hang on 1 second. Sam, if he actually does that, would you make sure to try and get commission off him for suggesting that topic, because he shouldn't be allowed to get away with it. Sorry, please continue.
We're losing the feed. We're losing the feed.
How many ideas have I given you over the years, and I've never seen one bloody cent from it?
Exactly. Long may that last. The actress who played one of the Arctic scientists is you're absolutely right. Yes, Peter. Yes, John Belushi's wife. And it's funny because it's a bit like when you see any zombie film, any vampire movie, anything like that, you are waiting. You know what's going to happen. Like, you don't make a zombie film where you never have the zombies. You know? Okay, arguably 28 days later, but you know what I mean. And you're just like, oh, it's gonna wake up. You're also screwed because you don't know what you're dealing with. And then, of course, this does happen. And, we get, all of these clues that we as the audience know. Like, we know they're the Borg. We know what's coming. Like, you're all already dead. You just don't realize it yet. And then things go south. It cuts to Admiral Forrest, who seems to be like, he's the most caring admiral in the world, or he knew what the Borg were the whole time, because when they come in and says, we've lost contact with the Arctic, he's like, scramble Starfleet. We must go and find out. It's like, yeah, all right, cool, calm down. Like, the scientists broke the radio.
Because
it's funny the way he kind of like reacts so big straight away.
And when you think most of the time when we've had to seen the Admiralty in Star Trek, it's normally being complete, horrible people to our main cast, and people who are, they're out of touch and things like that, or they're bad. Like, if you think of, like, in Ensign Rowe, you've Admiral Kennelly. Like, the original series, anytime there's any Admiralty there, Kirk is there. Forget what they say. I know better than them. You've seen Cisco getting, chewed out by the Admiralty and things like that. And it's always gas that no matter who it is, the second they get to Admiral, they're going, we can't trust these people anymore. Absolutely not. But in Enterprise, you can always trust this guy, like, because he's always there for them, and he's right. Like, Admiral Forrest is a brilliant character. And in fairness, Vaughn Armstrong would nearly rival Jeffrey Combs for the amount of people he's played in Star Trek.
Absolutely. I think the pair of them are nearly neck and neck.
Yeah.
But yes, he's brilliant. He's only in the one scene pretty much, but it's just enough. I think Enterprise, basically, to agree with what you said, Enterprise, because of his depiction of Admiral Forrest, it kind of went, no, okay, when the Admiralty gets worried, something's gone wrong. And that is, which is right, up to that point, I suppose you had Admiral Ross in DS9. But, I mean, you can nearly count them on one hand, the good admirals,
But is it just me, or is there always something about Admiral Ross? You're constantly there going, he seems way too nice. There's, like, you could see Admiral Forrest being, a kind of a person on the frontier and things like that. But there was something about Bill Ross that I was kind of there going, he seems too nice, and I don't know why. Am I the only person who thinks that? Like, I love Admiral Ross. He's a sound fella, but I'm just kind of there going, wartime, I don't know what it is. Or maybe it's a case I'm kind of there going, I wish he was kind of in it more. Maybe he's one of the characters there going, I wish you could actually see more. Hello, Penny in the slot. So that's just my take on Admiral Ross. I don't know why. I've no issue with Admiral Ross, or maybe I do. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I love it. Actually, Stephen, you mentioned above as well that when they start to assimilate the Arctic lander, that they said behind the scenes that they'd started to come up with this idea of how are cubes made, where do baby Borg cubes come from. So basically, they will assimilate a ship and start building out from there. So it started to kind of build this. You could see elements of the cubic shape coming up from the Arctic lander, which, because I remember the first time I'm watching it, and let's take that, Sean, with a pinch of salt, thanks very much. But I was kind of like, why have they done that to the ship? That doesn't make any sense. Is that an engine? That makes no sense. It's like, it was the start of a cube.
Yes.
And I mean, considering Enterprise barely survives the Arctic lander, I don't think there would have been much hope if it came to facing off against a cube. But yeah,
I think that's the thing though, isn't it? Like once you heard they were going into Enterprise, we were going, well, at least the sense of threat will return again because it's whatever 22nd century technology against the Borg, which is better than kind of 24th century. It was over at that point, so it's great to see kind of the threat back. And as you said, there weren't too many drones to start with, so like the sense of kind of danger, it was very much evident in the episode.
Very much so, and I think it's a bit like the idea that they do in First Contact, where we have holographic bullets, this old technology that was able to get through the Borg personnel shields. I got the similar idea from this episode, that the phasers were so unadvanced because these had been shot at by phaser rifles from the 24th century. That's what they were prepared against. 22nd century tech, it was so dumbed down that it managed to get straight through their shields. It reminds me actually of a funny moment from Stargate SG-1, so to any fans in the live there, when the Asgard come to Earth and they say they are no longer capable of such unsophisticated thinking as to beat the replicators. And Jack O'Neill says, so you need us because we can have stupid ideas. You may have come to the right place. And that's kind of what I got from this here. So, when they catch up with the Borg are there assimilating Tarkalians. I believe it's Tarkalians, I might be wrong. Now, there is one issue, and it's a fairly big issue with this episode that I have. So Denobulans are basically immune to the Borg as long as you get them into some delta radiation quickly enough. Okay, would have been good information to kind of share throughout Starfleet. Because Phlox obviously gets nano-probed.
That's right, yeah.
He gets himself into the chamber. I believe it's delta radiation. And, he's quite sick.
Wait a second. Delta radiation, isn't that what got Captain Pike?
That's very true. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's the multi-use tool of Star Trek. But yes, I was a bit like, I get that they had to do something to a main character, or you would have just been like, well, they'll be fine. The Grant, they'll obviously blow up the Borg, and no one will ever think of it. So, but it was a bit convenient. But I love Trip scrambling to fight the Borg technology. I love that. I love actually. How when the Borg infect the ship, it replicates it, because we never really see that. We see the aftermath, don't we, on the Enterprise E. We see it's already partially assimilated. We don't see the creation of these Borg parts, I suppose, except maybe with the exception of the deflector dish. But yeah, I must say it's tense right the way through to the end. Archer, he never loses that prime directive version of thinking. Kind of, we must save the people, and they go and find out, and they leave their photonic grenades, and there's a hairy moment where it looks like the Borg might have got Reed, and I do catch myself thinking like, oh no, hang on, no, I've seen the next episode, Reed's fine, hang on. Every time though, and they leave their photonic grenades, and they blow up the ship, and T'Pol is, as often happens in Enterprise, so this is a pure action episode, but as often happens, there is a great scene where T'Pol is comforting Archer at the end by saying, you had no choice. You had to do this. Because they never, Archer is completely against killing, obviously he's a good person, but these are humans, that because they don't understand the Borg. These are humans with some cybernetic enhancements, and he's just killed them all.
Yeah.
And then they use that great sting that I really liked it as an ending. That, well, they did get a message out, but it's going to take, I don't know, a couple of 100 years to get there. And I did enjoy that. There are people offering money for you to costume change. Since this is for charity, you kind of have to now. Well, I tell you what, anyone who donates $1,000, I will change on camera. All right? That is my promise. right now.
No, we're absolutely not going to let that happen. But what we are going to do, though, is because I've decided that this is going to be a rule because this is my idea anyway. Sean, for every hour you're on screen, you have to change your uniform. So you're on screen 1 hour and 4 minutes. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to run and get changed into a different uniform. I'll keep everyone here in the comments happy. So you've got, it's now 1 hour, 4 minutes, 20 seconds. So you've got 1 minute to run off and get changed.
All
I'm
right.
quite serious
Okay.
about this. Like, go for
I.
it right now. Go.
That's. Oh, good. All right. Cool.
Crows too. I'll give you 2,000 if you don't. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. Unfortunately, we have to wait now and see what uniform Sean is going to come back with. And I feel like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. I didn't think I'd be the only one left here at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through the comments. Why is there a lack of love for Lieutenant Reed in the comment section? I always thought Lieutenant Reed was kind of a bit of a boring individual. I think what was it in one of the episodes of Enterprise, I think it is, at the start he's having breakfast with Captain Archer, and effectively he's there going, I've no interests, I've no hobbies, I've got nothing. It's kind of there going, you can't really build a series around characters who are completely, that uninteresting. Somebody saying that they're wagering he's going to come back in the TOS uniform. I'd say you could be right there because I think he might go through the timelines exactly. I love Lieutenant Reed, underused but so much potential. I'm not sure I agree with that one now at all because I don't know where the potential was. I just think that the way the character was kind of presented was just like, if it had been better written, I fully agree with you. Like when we discussed Harry Kim and the potential that was there for him, but we saw that at least a bit realized, and we saw the motivation within him. Although I suppose with Reed there was the Section 31 thing as well. Oh, here he comes now. Jesus, God. Why did I have to implement this rule? What have I done? Where did you get that uniform?
Listen, I have my secrets. All right. Okay. Cool. Let's fly. What's our next episode?
We'll keep what I said when Sean was gone safely kept away in the comments. Right. Okay. You look lovely, Sean. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Somebody was demanding Chief O'Brien, so we're going to jump into DS9, and we're not going to go with a O'Brien's Life is Hell episode because that wouldn't be fun. So we've decided to. Yeah. I've totally gone for 1 hour countdown begins now. Yeah, Samuel, absolutely yes. We have 2 guest stars appearing in 1 hour's time. So what we'll do is we'll have Sean change as they're coming on, not on camera because I don't think anyone needs that. Okay, so we're going to go with the DS9 5th season episode, Trials and Tribulations, one of the best episodes of Star Trek by an absolute country mile. It's a wonderful episode of Star Trek to watch for about 100 million reasons. So this was for the 30th anniversary of Star Trek. So obviously DS9 and Voyager were the series that were on at the time. So Voyager had Flashback with Captain Sulu. So DS9 then had Trials and Tribulations, which of course had them going back in time to the original series episode, The Trouble with Tribbles. They were kind of throwing around ideas a bit in terms of what they were going to do. They wanted to go back to the planet from a piece of the action. In terms of like the kind of the Chicago gangs of the 1920s or 30s, one or the other. Someone will be able to look that up. But instead, they decided they were going to go back and use the technology from Forrest Gump and integrate the crew into an episode of the original series. So they've used that. So the story begins with a visit from Temporal Investigations to DS9, and it's just it's kind of a cool cold opening because it's straight out just the investigation is why did you travel back in time and all this kind of thing, and there's references to when did it go back to and all that kind of thing. Sorry, Sean, is your audio still working fine? I just suddenly got to drop off for a sec.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, fantastic. So the Defiant had gone into Cardassian space to take an orb back from them. Turns out it was the Orb of Time. So while they're there, they bring a human trader back with them, Aaron Darvin. So he is actually a Klingon agent. I keep getting the names confused now. Charlie Brill, I think, is the actor. So he is. turns out he knows the orb of time. Look, how the hell do we know he knows the orb of time? But he does. So anyway, he sends the Defiant back in time, and the Defiant goes back in time to Space Station K7 and the Enterprise there as well. This was where the same actor plays him in the original series episode. The Enterprise goes to Space Station K7. They have there's a quantity of wheat there, Quanto Triticale, for Sherman's planet, and it's really important to the Federation for their kind of colonization efforts. And so Charlie Brill is there to. I'm just keep calling Aaron Darvin, right? It's easier. I keep
Sure.
getting the name. No, it's Mr. Waddle. Barry Waddle is the fake human name at the start of the episode. Aaron Darvin is the name he is in the 23rd century, so that's where we'll go with. So that's fine. So the Enterprise is there, and they come across a guy by the name of Cyrano Jones, and he has a small pet called a tribble. Now, a tribble eats a lot, but doesn't do anything but make a nice cooing sound. But it turns out a tribble also multiplies like crazy. The Klingons had a plan to basically poison all of the grain, which was what Aaron Darvin was doing. He was posing as a Federation representative. So the tribbles unintentionally solved the whole problem because they keep on eating all the grain, and eventually they die because what happens is they got poisoned. That's kind of what leads to Darvin getting found out. Sean O'Sullivan in the comments, the producers were having pizza and talking about having Darvin back. And speaking of the devil, he walked into the pizza place. That's right, Sean. I was actually going to bring that up, so you've kind of beat me to it. Yeah, they were having the discussion about would they do the Trouble or Tribbles, and there was Charlie Brill up at the counter, like, what were the chances of that? And they said they felt it was a sign from God that basically God's a DS9 fan, and that's what they had to do. So obviously, Aaron Darvin, it was disgraced from the Klingon Empire and thrown out. So OS Dulmer and Lux, sorry, that's right. The two investigators at the start are Dulmer and Luxley, which are anagrams of Mulder and Scully from the X-Files. It's a complete nail in the head kind of one there. So bringing the Defiant back, Aaron Darvin's plan is to basically plant a bomb in a tribble and set it off and kill Kirk and then be a hero to the Klingon Empire. So look, who the hell cares? Like, it's just we've often discussed this. I don't care about the story. Like, the whole thing is that the DS9 crew are on the original Enterprise, and it's absolutely phenomenal. We discussed this before, and it's one of the things that I've often said to you. I love that when you look back on behind the scenes stuff, how much it can actually add to your enjoyment of an episode. And I always loved the scene when they beam onto the Enterprise for the first time, and the Cisco and Dax walk out of the turbo lift, and they're kind of shocked seeing the ship and all that. But behind the scenes, Avery Brooks and Terry Farrell were kept away from it. So the very first time the door would open, they walk on set. That's the first time they actually see the set. So their reaction is actually real, and it's absolutely brilliant. And like, they wrote Dax to be almost like a Star Trek fan, because like she's so fascinating. Oh my god, it's so cool. Like, from her point of view, I lived in the 23rd century. I remember all this stuff, but in reality, she's one of us. Like, when she's looking at the tricorder and she's going, "Oh, this is so cool." And then when Cisco and Dax are near Kirk and Spock, when they're talking to Mr. Barris on the station, and she says he's so wonderful looking. Cisco's going, "Yeah, Kirk has a reputation as being a ladies' man." And Dax is there, "No, I mean Spock." And they're going, "That's right, everybody loves Spock." But the integration of the crew, like, I was watching today and I just realized the episode is 25 years old this year. Like, when you think of it, right? I remember the 25th anniversary, and like, you were basically ending the original series as a massive, it's basically almost a generational thing, kind of it ending. When you think of it, it's the same time distance from the start of the original series to the 25th anniversary in 91 as it is from now to when they made Trials and Tribulations. Like, it's absolutely mind-boggling when you look at it. Like, look, obviously we needed a HD remaster of DS9 pretty much immediately. The episode still looks phenomenal. Like, the effects hold up. Like, it looks lovely. Like, it looks bloody great. There might be one or two small ropey bits in it, but overall, it looks absolutely phenomenal.
That's absolutely Sean O'Sullivan. That was not information I needed to have right now. Thank you very much. But you're absolutely right. It does hold up, because what they did is they were clever with how they used them. They were very clever. It was sparing, and it was done. But again, actually, because they were slotted into that fight, and the scene with all the red shirts lined up. I mean, I think that's very well done with O'Brien and Bashir. I thought that was excellent. But
Like
Yeah, it is. It is.
it's a it's a totally charming episode, and even the way the music is kind of
Mm,
changed. I know Ronald D. Moore doesn't like the music for it, but I think the music works absolutely brilliant. But like when you look at the scenes, they integrate, like as you said, the lineup scene after the fight itself. Now there is one ropey part where Chief O'Brien is against a green screen and a chair is thrown right past him, but the rest of it is brilliant. It's very kind of seamless how it kind of works through. And it's Sean, please stop putting up things about how old people are and things like that. We're old enough. Like I'm 39 years old. I don't need to be reminded that I'm probably catching up on Will Wheaton's age myself.
Star Trek
Um,
Discovery aired 5 years ago. There you go. Now time is flying by.
dear God.
Yes.
It's one of the things, like it was like this was a really hard episode to kind of plan, because to try and nail, like, effectively, like it's a love letter, like in the way that these are the voyages, but absolutely not a love letter to Star Trek fans. The last episode of Enterprise. This is
Didn't
the
happen.
No, it didn't. This is the absolute love letter to Star Trek fans. This is absolutely brilliant. It's wonderful how it's kind of how it comes across. I think Ira Stephen Bear was kind of the opinion that, like, I don't think he wanted to rely on that nostalgia
Mm.
for it and kind of felt de-essential his own thing. But like, it's very hard not to kind of play into the whole thing of the original series and kind of how cool it is. And when you watch the episode, like Kirk's way of commanding, Kirk's way of doing things, like it's completely different to the way anyone else would handle anything. Like if you watch the episode back, he just basically makes fun of the administrator Nils Barris on on K7 for the entire episode.
I love that. Kirk, my station is swarming with Klingons. Sir, I didn't realize that 12 Klingons constituted a swarm. It's just like, no, like the man has legitimate concerns. Like, come on.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's one of those episodes that if you want to just watch them, that's just bonkers and uplifting. It's great. I also love when they work out what the trying to find how many tribbles are there, and Dax, they're there going, it's almost lines are ripped straight from the episode. I didn't realize it at one point. What's his um Kirk says in the episode, it's almost done for comedic effect, and kind of he says the word storage compartments twice when he realizes where the bomb probably is, and he says storage compartments, like looking at Kirk, and then he looks at Dax and says it, and Kirk says it twice as well in the episode. And when they're trying to talk about how many tribbles are there, I think it is what does Dax say? 1,771,561 or something like that. I think I'm right when I say that. And then she says, and she explains the maths behind it. And then later in the episode, when they finally find the bomb, and it's the Barris, Kirk, and Spock are there, and all the tribbles have fallen down on Spock, and they're talking about how many are there, and Spock gives the exact number of tribbles, which is exactly the same as what Dax said, and the explanation is the same. And I love the way that Cisco kind of looks at Dax. You know me as well. I love the subtle humor in Star Trek. There's no kind of stupid music lead into it. It's just, it happens. Cisco and Dax look at each other and they just kind of just shrug each other's shoulders and say, yeah, the same number, and they just keep on going, and it's brilliant.
It's silliness to the extreme. This
Yep.
episode, there is absolutely no stakes, and there's not meant to be. And I love this. What you get to see when, even before we go over to the Enterprise or K7, when they're in uniform, in TOS uniform, on board the Defiant, you're like, times have moved on so much. And in fairness, as some of the comments have quite correctly pointed out, hadn't quite moved on as far as we now think they had moved on. It was only, 30 years or so in the difference. Now that it's like, oh dear, it's a bit closer to 60 years now. But anyway, it's all fine. And it's
Everyone
just fun.
gets their
And
bit
the
to doing it.
Yeah.
Like the O'Brien and Bashir thing is hilarious. Like, especially when Bashir kind of thinks that it's a predestination paradox, that he's meant to be his own great grandfather, and O'Brien has absolutely no time for it at all. There's a great little bit behind the scenes as well, that they were all struggling with the communicators. They didn't really know how to properly do it, and Walter Koenig was doing a tour of it, and he showed them, how to properly do it as well. Like, it's just small things like that, or because you'd think, look, let's be honest about it. I think nearly everybody here, me and you on screen, nearly everyone in the comments, we've at some point had a prop of an original series communicator, and we've done the whole kind of flicking open. Sean, you more than likely have one there within reach, I'm sure. Do you?
I don't have it within reach. I do know where it is, but it's I'm not standing up again, but it is in the next room. I was trying to like plan what do I have in reach. So I have my phaser. I have let's see. I have everyone's favorite ship from Star Trek Picard. The
one that
lovely
appears
Inquirer
800
class.
million times. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. The copy and paste fleet. What else do I have? Well, I do have this beauty right here now. So this was to go with the uniform I was wearing before I was informed that I was doing a costume change every hour. Don't get me wrong, challenge accepted. But
we have to unfortunately accept the fact that mob rule here. So whatever people say in the chat is what's going to happen. There's also obviously Worf and Odo as well doing their own investigation. I love then when they talk about the original series Klingons and the head ridges aren't there. And then when they say to Worf, like, what's going on? Like, and behind the scenes, they just effectively said, there's no explanation we could give that wouldn't just sound stupid anyway. So the way Worf just basically says, yeah, like basically, yeah, we're not going to explain that. Let's just move on. And it's great. And it works. And it's the best thing to do. Like,
no, I do. I love it. I'm fine with the way Enterprise explained it away. I'm fine with that. But I don't know. I suppose, listen, if they hadn't tried, we would have eventually gone, listen, why were they like that? What's going on? We need answers for these things. And then along comes Discovery, and it's just like, oh boy, howdy, do we have a way to spice it up for you? Which is fine. We love a bit of change. We love a bit of difference. Trials and Tribulations, I remember it well. So I do remember this one on first airing. And I just remember, like, because I wasn't as familiar with the original series then. But even then, I remember thinking, this is silly and fun. I like this.
Sean, that is my third choice. On to your fourth.
I was actually, because I have a few, loads of options. I'm going to go with Endgame. You're choking into your drink there. So I'm going with Endgame because... Not because it's a perfect episode, because I don't think that it is. I think there is several issues with it, but there are many things that I do like about it, and I love Admiral Janeway.
I think as well, actually, our good friend of our show, Will Leahy, RT royalty that he is, he maintained that this is better than All Good Things. Hello, Sean, who's just arrived into the chat as well. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. And just to again agree with Samuel there, thank you, everyone who's here with us. Please, if you can donate toward the fundraiser, we are here tonight to raise money for humanitarian efforts in the Ukraine. Obviously, it is horrendous what's happening, so anything that we can do to support, to help in any way. If you can't donate, please just share the link. That's all we ask. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you so much to everyone who has donated already. It is seriously appreciated. So thank you so much. Right, so it's not better than All Good Things. I'm not going to lie to you. Right, I'm going to take this position straight away. I do love All Good Things. Now, one of the reasons I love it so much is I love time travel episodes. Always have, always will.
Yes.
We've just obviously come off Trials and Tribulations, and I love poor old Tuvok in the future. I love the way the Doctor remains more or less the same all the way out. But Barclay gets so much to do in this episode.
He actually does, yeah, and it's a real strange one, like considering. But again, there was this wonderful connection that they developed between Barclay and the crew of Voyager, wasn't it?
Like I think he was. Now, everyone, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. He was in more episodes of Voyager than he was of TNG.
Oh, was he?
Yes. I'm going to hang my hat on that. I will accept the fact if I'm wrong, but I actually think that's right. And so by the end of it, he truly was. I think he was more a member of Voyager than he ever was of the Enterprise. But the reason I have to bring so much attention and love to both Admiral Janeway and Endgame is that never have I seen a commanding officer put so much effort into erasing the fact that Harry Kim got a promotion. Because we see it, Captain Harry Kim of the Rhode Island, and I'd say if Janeway was ever wondering if maybe this is the right idea, maybe this is the wrong idea, but when the Rhode Island rocked up and Captain Harry Kim was here, she was just like, hang on. That's why I'm doing this. Let's go back and let's make sure that that doesn't happen. And back she goes, and we have yet to see Captain Harry Kim since.
Wait a second, hang on. Like, I suppose I've never come across it. Was there any behind the scenes explanation as to why he never got a promotion?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't answer that. Because that makes me think of the Will Wheaton story from, was it season 1 or season 2? I think it might have been season 2 into season 3, where he went and asked for a pay rise, and they said, well, we won't do that for you, but we'll promote him to lieutenant. And to which he quipped, like, oh, great, I'll just tell my landlord then. Don't worry about it. I'll just tell my landlord that I've made lieutenant this year. You know? So, yeah, I was... so that does not answer your question whatsoever, but I'm just going to use that as the answer there. So, back to the episode itself. I love it because it's fun. I also have a little special memory with this.
Yeah.
My nephew, who is now 14, when he was about 6 months old or something, I was babysitting, and we put this on the TV, and never have I seen a child so transfixed by what they were watching. We had Borg spheres, we had Borg transwarp hubs, we had green everything, and he was just absolutely glued to the screen. And, that to me was going to make it a favorite straight away. But we had armor, we had transphasic torpedoes. Now, I agree with you completely that the Borg are not scary by the time we get to Endgame.
Correct.
They're
yes.
arguably not even a threat.
No, because there's one episode of Voyager start with Voyager literally just chasing down a Borg ship themselves, like.
Yeah, I know. It's so, like, when you get Starfleet chasing the Borg, you realize, no, this is not a thing anymore. This is not a thing. Peter, you're absolutely right. Yet he wanted to direct an episode. He's the only person who applied to direct an episode of Star Trek and was told no. Up to date, the current makers of Star Trek might be ready to reject everyone. But yes, up to date, he is the only member of the crew that was ever said, nope, you're not doing this.
Good God. What was their issue with the poor guy?
I know, I tell you. But it was, I suppose, to be honest, although I love all of Endgame, and I'm one of those people where I love Susanna Thompson's Borg Queen, and I love Alice Krieg's Borg Queen. I do. I actually really like them both. But I was glad to see Kate Mulgrew and Alice Krieg face off against each other, because she's a very different Borg Queen, of course, than Susanna Thompson's Borg Queen, who I think was more of a kind of a cold scientist, whereas Alice Krieg was the kind of queen who, well, she would try and do to anyone what she tried to do to Data, and she would do it smiling. But seeing them face off against each other, it was very much two powerhouses. And I just absolutely love the kind of quips like, must be something you assimilated.
Would you feel kind of bad if you were Susanna Thompson's being replaced? I know, look, Alice Krieg is was brilliant in First Contact. Would you kind of feel a bit bad, kind of going, yeah, I've been the Queen there for a while. What's going on here? Like, why did you replace me with Alice Krieg again?
Well, there was a funny kind of infinity loop between the two, right? So Susanna Thompson was unavailable for First Contact, and so Alice Krieg got the part.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I only learned it recently myself. And then when it came then to Dark Frontier and Unimatrix Zero, they actually went with their first choice. Now, I'm actually not sure what the thing was when it came to Endgame, whether Susanna Thompson, because I know both Susanna Thompson and Alice Krieg hated the contact lenses. Like, it was properly painful. And I think there is a story where on the first day of filming on Dark Frontier, Susanna Thompson went home in tears. She was in so much pain. So because the Borg Queen, the makeup, it's very punishing makeup for the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
So I can certainly understand not wanting to rush back into it. And she had done much more recently than Alice Krieg had. She had done two full two-parters in the makeup.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know, but that I'm theorizing. I do love an L theorizing. Let us know in the comments, guys.
Sorry, Penny has asked a good question here. Out of all of Trek, if the Borg were to assimilate them, who do you think would be a great Borg queen? I've got an idea straight away, but I'm
What?
going to you decide. Who do you think,
Uhura.
Sean? No, I would have actually said Ensign Rowe, actually.
Oh. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
As Rowe is a very kind of strong individual. Yeah, I definitely would have gone for Rowe would be
Wrong.
the best Borg queen.
Brilliant. Kieran Reese would be great. She would, but like
Yeah.
she'd never assimilate anyone. She'd just kick the crap out of them. Which might not necessarily be a bad thing. Like, there we go. All the soldiers on the Enterprise E are going to go fight the Queen. She takes them all down single-handed.
I think as well, like one of the drawbacks again of this is the whole Chakotay 7 romance as well, because you're there going like certain TV series get to a point where like they start kind of running out of ideas and just go, hey, let me just let's just throw two characters together. It's like Worf and Troy at the end of the Next Generation. And you're kind of there going like, why in the name of God do we have Chakotay and 7 together? Like, there's literally nothing going on here. Like,
so according to Beltran, that was because he had made jokes with, because Brannon Braga and Jerry Ryan were a couple at the time.
yes.
And he had made jokes like, Brannon Braga basically will never put 7 in a romantic situation because they were going out. Yeah. And basically, exactly. What wasn't that a bet? Basically, you bet him, I bet you won't do it. And the next thing, it turns up in the script as random as it comes across on screen. And in the seconds of screen time that they have together, as a couple, I mean, maybe, sure, it could have been good, but we had no kind of lead into this. And no, natural law or even human error don't really count. Maybe human error. Okay, hologram Chakotay.
Yes.
To be fair, I've gone on about this episode for about 2 hours, so I suppose I'll wrap it up in a couple of bits. I love the interaction between Admiral Janeway and Tuvok in the future, because that is an absolutely earned relationship between the two of them. They are, sort of deeper than family. That scene at the very end. The episode should have been a minute and a half longer.
Definitely, 100%, yeah. I know people are saying, "Oh, but we saw it at the start," and you're there going, "No, we didn't see it at the start. We saw something else completely at the start." Like we actually want to see them. Even even the ending could have been just the ship actually flying into San Francisco and landing and having all the fireworks there, just to see it. Like,
just that. But that moment where Janeway just goes, set a course for home. And it's full circle. It's the last line of Caretaker. It's the last line of Endgame. Although the episode should have been longer, that just gets me right in the communicator every single time.
I still think of the episode of The Simpsons where when they have to retake all their photos because of an issue at home, and it shows them watching the Voyager season ending, as in they're watching this episode. And I think Lenny is dressed up as 7 of 9.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculous. No, in fairness, like again, like finishing up in the same way that What You Leave Behind as well, and same with All Good Things, having to wrap up 7 series and bring it all together is really kind of tough to do. Like, and in fairness, Endgame did it really well, and like it had to have the Borg in it really, because they were there for a lot of the time. Plus, as well, I suppose they were the only species who could have had the technology to let them get back as fast as they did.
That's true. Sorry, Samuel Brocking, you wash your mouth out with soap. Ro Laren, no body, no death. All right? I don't care. She's alive and well. As far as I'm concerned, she's a farmer on the moon of Derna over Bajor. All right? And she's having a great time. Stephen has a good question there, Show. Before we go on to the next episode, who's your favorite background character? Or maybe one who gets a couple of lines every now and again. Ensign Wildman. Okay. Great. Who do you think, Show?
Mott the Barber. Absolutely, Mott the Barber. He knows the proper stuff. Like, he was telling Riker all about kind of, different tactical kind of ploys and the Romulan encounters and all that. Mott knows what's going on. So I would absolutely pick Mott. Mott has forgotten about a lot, but Mott is great.
That is entirely fair. Let's see. Background character. Oh, it's got to be Lieutenant Ayala from Voyager. He's in half the show, and I think he gets one line in all of Voyager. But he was one of the Maquis. He becomes one of the security officers aboard Voyager. He's absolutely brilliant, and we love him. Justice for Ayala.
There is one guy, I don't know his name, he's got no character, and I'm pretty certain he's never had a line of dialogue. He was in The Next Generation, he was also in Voyager. He's just one of those random background characters. He's in All Good Things, because I know Picard accidentally walks into him at one point. And I think he is in, oh jeepers, what's the name of the episode of Voyager before Worst Case Scenario?
Is it Displaced?
Yes, he's in that.
Yeah.
Because he taps his communicator at one point as well when one of those people winds up on the ship and all that kind of thing. So he, that guy, if you don't know who he is, I can't describe him because like it's basically impossible. And I don't have Lieutenant J, Peter. Yeah, like basically it's like Lieutenant J. Yeah, it's just a guy. That's basically it. He's great.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
always in the background. I'm pretty sure he never rose above the rank of ensign or lieutenant or something like that. But yes, I think that is. I think that's your 4th episode, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. I just want to do a little update here, show, because there has been people donating while we've been talking. So thank you so much. We are now at $1,592 raised on the fundraiser. Thank you so much to everyone who is donating. This is incredible. This is incredible stuff. Thank you so much. This is fantastic. Just want to say it. You're awesome. That's why we're here. Thank you so much. Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I have to say this. Thank you so much. Oh my word. That's cheapers. Dave, Alicia, and Oshin, who donated there. Thank you absolutely so much. They're my friends. So I'm delighted that cheapers. Thanks very much. Sorry, I know those people. That's one of my best friends. So Dave, thank you. Right, okay. Sorry, I'm totally lost because cheapers above. That's insane. Right, on to the next episode. I'm going to pick The Next Generation because the greatest of all the Treks is The Next Generation, is going to be yesterday's Enterprise.
Of course it is. Yes.
Absolutely. Because again, it is yet again one of those situations where I have to pick something that has a what if scenario or time travel or something like that. And this has both of them, which is absolutely wonderful. Sorry, who's this? I was looking up background actors, which led to an article by Sean Ferrick, of course.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Actually, sorry, one thing as well. Anna, you said there in the comments a minute ago about putting the link in the comments. I'm pretty sure I completely forgot to put in the description, so my apologies. It's actually should be the very top comment in the chat. If you scroll to the very top, you should see our the link there to donate as well. If you don't, just jump onto Twitter. We've got it there about 100 million times as well. So actually, while we're doing it, I'll just throw it back into the comments again. We'll just periodically throw it back.
I've actually just done that.
Well, it's going to be there twice now.
Excellent. Cool. Now you have no excuse. No, thank you so much, everyone who has donated. Thank you so much.
So yesterday's Enterprise. Can someone please shout at Diamond Select to release Enterprise C? Sammy, that's a bit of a strange one because one of my best friends as well, he is also, he's absolutely huge into the Enterprise C and he's tried to get about as many times as possible. I thought that they had released an Enterprise C, but I could be totally wrong.
They have released it in gold. I know that because I saw it at Destination Star Trek. So I don't think they've released the regular version. So if you like a gold Enterprise C, Sam, I know they have that one. God only knows how much it costs.
Also, someone here has put in that Vaughn Armstrong played 17 different characters. So the Shoveling Jedi, you need to now find out as well how many characters did Jeffrey Combs play. Unless Sean knows off the top of his head without Googling.
I actually don't. I don't know this one.
There we go now.
I'm kidding. No, I actually don't. Did you dream? Sorry, Stephen Thomas. No, you did not dream that. So just in case anybody hasn't seen Picard season 2 yet, we'll just beware spoilers. But yes. So show quickly. Tell us about this little known episode that I've never heard of.
Basically, the Enterprise C travels forward in time 22 years. It was in the middle of a battle with Romulans defending the Narendra outpost, which is the Klingon held outpost. As a result of them coming into the future, the timeline has completely changed. The Enterprise D is now a warship, and the Federation is at war with the Klingons. And it is a case now that the Federation is on the verge of total collapse. That basically the war has gone very badly, and the decision is basically if they send the Enterprise C back to the past when they come into the battle, that they be destroyed. But the whole question is basically, is their life better sacrificed back then to avert 22 years of war, or is it better for them to stay where they are? But as Picard says, it wouldn't make a blind bit of difference. This episode is absolutely phenomenal. Like when we were going back to our Next Generation, we'd spoken about the incredibly ropey first season, the stabilizing second season, and then the third season really started to hit its stride. But taking out, say, Measure of a Man, this would be probably the very first kind of cinematic scale episode of the Next Generation that we ever actually saw. Like this is like you could have easily made a movie out of this. Like it's absolutely brilliant in such a short period of time. Like we get such a different look at absolutely everything. Like you see a very different Captain Picard. You see a different Riker. Like the great thing I love about it is you see small bits that Riker absolutely hates Picard in this timeline. Like
Yes.
just small bits and pieces of him kind of, just being kind of bitter towards him. There's a great scene at the end as well when Picard is giving the briefing that he's making his decision, and Riker kind of says, "Do you want my opinion?" And Picard just kind of sits down. And he says, "Like I'm aware of what your opinion is." And kind of they're going like, this is not a briefing, like, and like because we are used to Picard holding briefings and getting everyone's opinion, then making a decision. But here it's kind of I don't care about anyone's opinions. I'm making the decision here, and that's kind of really the end of it. Like the Stephen Thomas there said this is the first introduction to Worf drinking prune juice as well. Um,
Yes, it is. Yeah, a
it's a
warrior's drink.
it's a lovely return for Denise Crosby as well, and like Tasha Yar is absolutely brilliant in this. She's just
Yes,
it's
she is.
again you'd kind of watch it, you'd be there again. Jeffrey Combs only played 7 characters. That's a bit of a shocker. Why isn't there more love out there for our good friend Admiral Forrest? Then as a result, Sean, you need to start making changes there on that. You need to do a
Yeah.
list now
I
on all the
will work on
characters
the.
that Vaughn Armstrong played.
All right, done. Cool.
Lovely. Now we'll take a bit of commission for that as a result.
Will
Again,
flip.
it's one of those things, isn't it, that like you see Tasha in these episodes and you kind of say to yourself that like could there have been more development with her if she'd stayed on the show, which probably would have obviously sidelined Worf a bit more. But like the relationship between her and Richard Castillo is absolutely excellent because it's really tragic because basically he has to die for the future to survive, and if the future survives, she's dead as well. And it's a bit of a heartbreaker, like.
It is. It's funny because it doesn't feel well. She's not a guest star, so I'm trying to compose my thoughts on this. She's not a guest star; she's a returning star, and yet, in a way, she almost feels like a guest star. It's like, oh, we're suddenly giving this person so much backstory because this version of Tasha is very different from the Tasha of season one. And I think Denise Crosby plays her fantastically in this. She plays her with confidence. She plays her with an ease that she has just been part of the ensemble for the entire time. That there was no break, no gap at all.
Hmm.
And it is one of the ultimate what could have been. And I love Tasha and Guinan together.
That's really, yeah, it's a really kind of powerful scene. Although when I was watching it back yesterday, I was found it interesting that in this, whatever 4,000 troops can be on the Enterprise, and then when Tasha goes to see Guinan at the end of the episode, basically there's no one intent forward. They're going pretty sure at no point will this place ever be quiet with 4,000 people on the Enterprise. Like, but like what's great about it is that like I like the way that she says to Tasha, I don't have alternate biographies for all the crew, but like I know that your death was senseless, and it's brilliant because that's exactly what it was. Like we discussed Skin of Eva before, like, and as much as it's remembered for the death of Tashiar, I found it more of a Picard episode rather than a kind of a Tashiar one. But like it's great that it's kind of that senseless death is kind of avenged here, like, and her scene with Picard is bloody brilliant, where she explains that that at least if she goes back and does this, her death will actually have meaning and will make a difference.
I agree. Sam, I actually agree with you there that it's slightly frustrating that this warship, kind of like, fire phasers. Now let's go make coffee. And the Klingons don't seem to be, having Raktaginos in between. And also, has there ever been a slower ship than the Enterprise C? I mean, honestly, I could have walked to the anomaly faster. And it's an amazing episode. The story is fantastic, but just put the anomaly further away. As opposed to it's right there. Just fly. Just decompress main shuttle bay and you'll be right in it. But poor old Captain Garrett, we hardly knew you.
Yeah, she was kind of killed off pretty kind of fast as well. But sorry, I have to go back to Sam's point. Sam is totally right there. Like we've discussed this a million times. Like the amount of like when you actually watch the battle scene is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's so well done. But like the Enterprise fires phasers about 3 times and fires torpedoes once. Like they're going. Like we know the ship can actually fire a lot more. Like even in the episode The Survivors, the Enterprise fires more at the Husnock ship than the Enterprise does at 3 Klingon birds of prey.
It sort of tells me that Picard was trying to kill Tasha Yar the whole time, so he could have fired more, just didn't. That's fine. And if the Enterprise C was to explode, oh well, Picard was working for the Klingons the whole time. There we go. That's my hot take. That is my hot take. No, it's fantastic. It's pretty much, epic acting all around. And it's just that little satisfied smile from Guinan in the last scene. And to sit down and we all know it's coming, with Geordi in the wrong uniform. But she just goes, tell me about Tasha Yar. And LeVar Burton doesn't say a word, just kind of reacts a little bit. Wasn't expecting that question. I thought it was brilliant. Peter, thank you very much. Just donated. Thank you very much.
And there's been a few other people as well been commenting saying
Yes,
they've donated. So
thank
guys, thank you so much. We can't really thank you enough for everything that is being donated at the moment. It's absolutely staggering for us. Just a bit of background to the idea. As Sean said, we put this I just thought of this last Thursday night, and I left Sean a voice message in the complete belief he was going to tell me it was a crazy idea and that we shouldn't do it. And then he unfortunately agreed and thought it was a good idea. And then we decided that out of nowhere we said we'd try and do it within a week. Like we contacted podcasters we'd never even spoken to. We contacted as many as we humanly could, and we just went with the first 10, 12 that came back to us. We created the event. So again, all of your support, watching it here, donating here, is absolutely wonderful, and for us it's absolutely great. So again, thank you very much for that. So just back to the episode, there's two great Picard lines in this as well. Obviously, let's make sure history never forgets the name Enterprise. Like it's a brilliant kind of announcement to the crew. But I also love just after Riker is killed, which is absolutely class, by the way. And the Klingon commander says to communicates the says Federation ship Enterprise surrender and prepare to be boarded. And then Picard just leaping over the tactical station says that will be the day. It's excellent. It's so well done. It's absolutely it's brilliant.
Wow. It's also I think so. Am I right in saying, spoiler alert, that this is the bridge they use in Generations, or at least the blueprint of it, because they were both directed by David Carson.
Possibly.
Great. Okay, cool. That is something I will try and find out. But yeah, so this episode and Generations are both directed by David Carson, who also directed Emissary.
Sorry, Samuel is asking, how long till Sean's next uniform change? 13 minutes, Samuel.
13 minutes, all right.
Minutes.
Thank you.
13 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Because we'll be welcoming in our good friends Chris and Stephen in 13 minutes. So when they join, you'll be going off to get changed. Now, Sean, that is my 4th episode. What is your 5th and final episode?
In the Pale Moonlight.
I suppose we couldn't have done this without In the Pale Moonlight in some shape or form.
In the Pale Moonlight is one of the finest hours of drama that I've ever watched. It is a masterclass from Avery Brooks and from Andrew Robinson. It has the most epic delivery of the words, and I'm going to come back from the mic for a second. It's a fake that I think I've ever seen in the history of fakes. It's a convention-breaking episode because, of course, what fourth wall in this episode? It's everything a political spy thriller should be in a Starfleet uniform. I love In the Pale Moonlight. And it's one of those, it's become almost cliche to say it's such a good episode, because it is such a wonderfully good episode. But
Like
it really is that good.
I remember watching it for the first time, like when it aired as a new episode. And I remember watching it, and you're kind of there going, Cisco trusting Garrick, and you're there going, this is only going to go one way. Like you're there going, it's not going to go the way that he thinks it's going to go. Like this is going to go very badly. Like the episode is excellent because you think like with Starfleet officers, it'll all work out. The fake will work and all this kind of thing. And then when it doesn't, and you're there going like, "Geez, what's going to happen now?" And then when you find out that the shuttle has blown up, you're kind of there. It's almost like you're kind of there going, "Well, that was obvious," but at the same time, it wasn't. You were constantly there going, "No, of course it's going to work out. Garrick's plan is going to work." And I love the way that Garrick says, "I thought it might have worked, but I kind of didn't think it would work at the same time. So I decided I was going to blow up his ship." It's brilliant from Garrick. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Like, and I love the way he holds Cisco to task, because he's like, you knew what this was. Now you might not be able to admit it, but you didn't go to Quark to get a holosuite program written. You know, you didn't go to, you went to me, because you know what I'm capable of doing. You know, if you really needed some kind of shady contact, Odo could have got you some shady contacts, no problem. You know, that was never the issue. And it's a great thing, because one of the great questions since this episode is, would Picard have done this? Would Kirk have done this? Would Janeway have done this? And I don't know. I don't really have an answer to that one. I do think that it works as well as it does because Cisco, obviously Avery Brooks is as good as he is, but Cisco is the wartime captain in a way that none of the other captains have had to deal with wartime. You know, even in the Klingon War of Discovery, where some fairly dark decisions are made, we didn't know those characters enough for it to hit the way this episode hits, you know. And because Cisco as well has such a powerful sense of right or wrong, and I can hear you, Show. I can see in your face you're about to go, but you remember that time he poisoned a planet? And okay, that's a fair point. That is a fair point. But also, that guy upset him, so that makes it okay.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Like when you look at like no other Starfleet captain would make these decisions, like that would kind of do these things, and like because like the DS9 universe is completely different to the Next Generation and all that kind of. I was going to say the Voyager, but like Janeway does like a lot of absolutely horrendous things herself because she needs to. But with Cisco, like these moments are absolutely brilliant, and I love the fact that when he goes down to Garrick, as you said, it just he beats him up and all that, and Garrick is basically there going, "Listen, buddy. You asked me, like in reality, you're the wrong one here because you know what I'm capable of doing. So like, who's really at fault here? Who's the monster here? Like, I'm bad, but like you're worse for relying on me to try and do the good thing here. Like,
is the devil the bad guy, or is the person who knowingly makes the deal with the devil the bad guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and it doesn't. It's one of the reasons as well that it works well is that it doesn't give you an easy answer. I mean, there is a tremendously great outcome. The Romulans join the war, which effectively shortens the war by however long and, ensures an alliance victory against the Dominion. So, fantastic. As Cisco says at the end, this is a huge victory for the good guys. And although they had only just been introduced, Crows 2, would Cisco have killed Tuvix? He would have killed him, brought him back just to kill him again. But although they had only just been introduced a couple of episodes earlier, this feels like something Section 31 would have been all over. And I like, and in a way, no shade to what Section 31 has become. I like that it wasn't a secret organization. I like that it was a main character on, the main character of DS9 has to deal with the fallout of this decision. And also, when he erases the log, what do you think about him erasing the log?
But it's like, how would I put it? It's like, do you know at times like when you've got a problem, you need to just talk it out, and sometimes you don't need someone to say anything back to you. You don't need someone to give you advice. Sometimes just by saying it out loud kind of gives you the answer yourself. Like, so I think the whole purpose of it is that I need to talk to someone And like recording the log for him feels like he's talking to someone. And as he does it, he kind of, he kind of comes to peace with what he has done. He knows what he's done is wrong, but the overall impact is good. And then it's kind of, yes, it's like Stephen was saying there, it's like writing the email and then not sending it. Exactly. Like that's basically what it is. It's like, writing stuff down in a letter and burning it and that kind of thing. That's exactly what it was. And like that's the whole thing was record the log. Then the log is recorded. He said it all. He's processed it himself. He's made sense of it. He knows what he's done, and he's there going, delete it now. I'm done with it, and I don't need to be reminded of it because I need to move on at this point. So the whole thing is get it off my chest. But he can't talk to anyone. He can't tell anyone what he has done. Like the only people who know then are like himself and basically the log. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, it's funny then that there isn't. I wondered if they would do anything between Cisco and Garrick going forward. Because obviously DS9 was potentially the best show, certainly at the time, for showing consequences to actions. Like we see over several times. Kira will do something in season 2 that will come up again in season 3, 4, and 5. Things like that. The relationship with Odo, and I don't think they ever do. And I think that is all summed up by the fact of Cisco. He certainly, like, people had to die, and this was the first time I think that when it wasn't, it wasn't a war, it wasn't ordering somebody to a mission that would end up being a suicide mission. It wasn't like that. This was, I know, whether I can say these words out loud or not, but I know that the best way to end the fighting is to sacrifice a couple of lives. What I will say is Garrick is wrong. He says all it took was the life of one Romulan senator, one criminal, and the self-respect of one Starfleet officer. What about the poor other people on the Romulan shuttle? Thank you very much. Do their lives mean nothing to you? You don't even get a mention.
I'm pretty sure they're a version of the original series Red Shirts people. Like they're not really classified as people. Like they're completely classified as expendable. Like so, it's fine.
I am very conscious of the color I chose to wear on my last costume change. I will have a look at that on my next costume change. That moment, of course, I can live with it. Has had people going like, "Wow," I mean, wow.
But
does that make him a bad guy? Does that make him Machiavellian? It does make him Machiavellian,
but it's one of those things, isn't it? You want to, like in these situations, you want the character just to commit to it and be willing to kind of say, look, like this is what they've done, and we're not going to shy away from it. Like there's no attempt to kind of explain it away other than Cisco employed the use of a known, liar, kind of secret agent and someone who's going to potentially do exactly this. And that was the thing I loved about the episode really, was that it committed to that, and it basically said like these are the consequences. Like it's in the end it's positive, but what has been done to do it is completely horrible, and it's kind of like it's reprehensible. But again, DS9 always had that ability to kind of just willingly kind of say, no, we are going to kind of stick to this, like bad people do bad things, and we're not going to just try and dress it up and make it look like, no, they're all like, because as the episode was going by, I was kind of there going, it's a bit formulaic, it's a bit straightforward, like employ the help of, of Garrick, and Garrick could be the one who saved the day and all this kind of thing, and then didn't go out that way. And I was kind of there going, this is actually brilliant. Like that's what makes it great, is that it was willing to make the hard choice and was willing to stick to it and justify it in the best way possible, which was basically no justification. It's a terrible decision, but it was one that needed to be made.
Yeah. It's
and sorry, the other thing as well is, like, we've looked at it before in terms of, like, we would see lots of different admirals in Star Trek who are bad. Like, again, you look at Ensign Rowe, you look at the admiral in that, I can't think of his name because I said it only about 20 minutes ago. Admiral Hennelly. Ed Henley's a bad guy. You see Admiral Terry O'Quinn, because I can't seem to think of his name off the top of my head, from Pegasus. Admiral Pressman. Like, Pressman's bad as well. So, like, you have there's plenty of Starfleet officers who are bad, and we've seen a load of them who are bad. So, like, it's not outside of the realms of possibility that our own people could do that as well.
Yeah. It's the cost of war. It's
Sorry, hang on.
Yeah.
No, Nechayev was nice. In fairness to her, she was tough, and she was a nuisance, but she was nice. She never did anything bad, I don't think, anyway.
I personally think she would have delivered the bomb herself. Thank you very much, Loving Jedi. You're also wonderful. But yes, she would have. Yeah, a little bit like the Cisco and Tuvix and Shave would be like, now let's make sure that senator's dead. She would have stolen a Jemadar warship just to fly right at it, and she would have been right too. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably everything on the paper. Actually, one last thing on In the Pale Moonlight, the scene in Cisco's office right at the beginning where Dax plays the proconsul of the Romulan Senate, and she just sits there and she bounces every argument he has right back at him. It's just Terry Farrell was fantastic in that scene, Avery Brooks, and you really get that sense of friendship between them as well.
Because again, that's the thing, isn't it? Like we try to say maybe humanize a lot of the situations and characters and things like that in Star Trek, and here again, like the Romulans, they're just completely duplicitous. Like you cannot trust like anything the Romulans will ever say to you. Like even their involvement in the war, you know full well that it's they're serving their own purposes. They're not trying to pull together and say let's just save the Alpha Quadrant. It's basically we have a plan here, and we're going to probably just kind of like pillage some places when the fighting's over and done with and things like that.
Yep, that's it. Now,
Sorry, Peter has said as well, Admiral Dougherty from Star Trek Insurrection. Yes, Peter, you're absolutely right. Another bad admiral to add to the list as well. Absolutely correct.
yeah. And that Admiral Picard's a bit shifty. Not sure about that one.
I think actually it is 2 hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to Badmirals, Shoveling Jedi, lovely. 1 second out. We have Stephen coming in here now, and I will give it a few seconds more, and we'll have Chris as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to let Sean run off for his second costume change of the night. I will introduce Stephen. What I'll do as well is because we're approaching another hour, I'm going to throw back in the link again for our fundraising, just in case anyone new has come in as well. And there you go. And
all right. Everyone, you can start voting on what you would like my next costume change to be as well. I will be back momentarily.
And we'll welcome Stephen into the chat. Stephen, how are you?
I am good. How are you, Sho?
I'm not too bad. Thanks. Absolutely wonderful to see you here as well, with your small little companion with you as well for tonight's episode.
Yep. This is Starling.
Hello, Starling. Welcome. No, I think I've scared him off with my beard.
Peace, Dad.
Stephen, we've been discussing favorite episodes so far. We'll obviously have Chris coming in as well to join us in a couple of minutes too. So, Stephen, while we're waiting, give me one of your favorite episodes of Star Trek.
Does it have to be just an episode? Can it be a movie?
Yeah, of course it can be a movie, yeah.
Well, anyone who follows my socials will know that I'm an ardent fan of Star Trek V.
Oh my word, now this is an interesting one. Actually, I was going to stop you there, Stephen, for 1 second, because we're just going to bring Chris in as well. Okay. And Chris is here. Hello, Chris.
Oh, it's good to be here.
Chris, we've just welcomed Stephen, and Stephen is about to tell us why Star Trek V is one of his favorite pieces of Star Trek. And once he's done with that, we will get to you, and you can give us one of your choices. Stephen, tell us, why is Star Trek V one of your favorites?
I think, and I stand by this, that it is the best of the TOS movies. Not the best. I don't think it's the best of the films, but I think it is the best in capturing the original series feel in terms of the movies.
Yeah, I think it definitely got the Spock, Kirk, and McCoy relationship really well down. Like, because like the rest of them were kind of very involved, like 2, 3, and 4, and the motion picture was very much kind of kind of an awkward kind of situation of getting everyone back together. The Final Frontier as well probably has one of the best soundtracks out there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you have your omniscient presence, which TOS dealt with every other week. You have your quirky alien in Cybok.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pure camp, and it's fun.
Samuel Bracking in the comments is saying, Samuel, that's the obvious choice. We can't agree. We can't simply go with Star Trek 2 because it's the obvious choice we're going with. Stephen Thomas says B for Barricade, which is absolutely wonderful.
Right.
One of the things that does let down the Final Frontier is obviously the special effects because of the situation with the production house and things like that weren't able to get it working at the time and things along those lines. What's your favorite scene in it, Stephen?
Honestly, when Scotty tells that people the right tool for the right job, and then immediately passes out by hitting the bulkhead. I might have them conflated, but those two scenes.
Welcome back, Sean.
Hello, folks. How are we?
Doing good.
Excellent. And who is this young officer?
Starling.
Hello, Starling.
Oh.
Hello.
At least that's what we use on the socials.
That works for me. Absolutely beautiful.
Sean, we're discussing Star Trek V here at the moment, so Stephen was telling us why it's his favorite of the TOS films.
Okay, I'm here for this. All right, what do you got for us?
Well, like I was telling the show, it captures the TOS spirit. It's the camp. It's everyone has. I think just about everyone in the crew has a great scene.
I actually agree. I think it's got some of the best friendship moments between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy of all of their appearances. Like those campfire scenes are fantastic.
Right?
Yeah.
I actually tweeted some. I was actually watching it, waiting for the live stream to start, and I tweeted a picture of them at the campfire.
I love it.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think of Star Trek V?
I think there's some really good character moments in there, like Stephen has said. Overall, I would say it's probably it's not my favorite of the original series movies. I think that'd probably either be Wrath of Khan for obvious reasons, or there's part of me that really likes The Undiscovered Country because of how it wraps everything up, really.
I think I think the Final Frontier it was like, because we'd had such success with Star Trek 2, 3, and 4, and I still remember when Star Trek 5 came out, like it was billed as this wonderful, the action and adventure was really hyped up in the trailer. Like it was the summer as well of Batman and Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade as well. And like I remember watching it as a kid, and I loved it because like it had set pieces. Like I didn't give a damn about the story, like because I was there going, I don't mind about the Enterprise's search for God or anything along those lines. And it's a completely bonkers kind of movie. But again, with a William Shatner effort, it's kind of not surprising that it's completely bonkers as well.
I love the. I have to say I shouldn't, but I love the product placement that's going on with it. I've never wanted to buy Levi jeans as much as I have after watching that film. And I think somewhere actually I do have the Go Climb a Rock T-shirt somewhere in the pile. Yeah. So it's good for options. I love that bridge, that Enterprise A bridge. I think it's really, really nice.
Yeah.
I see Starling agrees with me.
Yeah. Well, he's saying show, not Sean.
There you go. That kid knows exactly who's the important driver.
Well, that's
but
all right then.
I think as well, like when you why is Captain Kirk climbing a mountain, Anna? Because the mountain is there. I think there's actually a video out there, kind of a remixed version of an interview William Shatner gives about climbing the mountain, and it's absolutely ludicrous. Like it's one of the oddest things that you will ever see.
Absolutely. Sean, you're right. Shatner on the mount. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
Chris, give us an episode that you really like.
Okay, well, I usually what I like doing is I like shuffling through Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager like every afternoon with like my coffee or whatever, and usually with my gran because it's one of the few shows we could actually enjoy, which is kind of sweet. And I really hope that Darmok hasn't been mentioned so far tonight.
No, it hasn't actually. No,
it hasn't. Good shout.
Lovely, because I like the episodes that are very conceptual in the sense of only Star Trek could do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So with Darmok, you have your classic running into new species, but it's so impossible for you to understand them that even the translators having difficulty. And then just the whole idea of them, like basically you have Dathok. I'm going to get this right. You've got Dathan and his first officer just arguing in the most hilariously incomprehensible to us, incomprehensible argument, and you've got Picard and Riker and Troy just not having a clue what's going on, and then one thing leads to another, and you have Picard and Dathan beams down to the surface of this planet because the Temerians, they're like, or Dathan in this case is like, I know how we can find common ground. Let's beam down on this planet and hope that we run into a monster so we can tackle it. Bearing in mind that Picard and all have no idea what's going on, so when they hear all of this, Temba, his arms wide, and Shaka when the walls foul, you're just like they're going like, what is going on? What are you saying?
There's a cool T-shirt you can get as well. It's kind of a picture of Picard. I think it's from Insurrection, and it's kind of he's got a heavy metal guitar in kind of photo framed onto it, and it says Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra in '91. It's
I think I saw that. Yeah,
it's genius. Absolutely genius. But it's one of those episodes in like kind of the whole thing about linguistics and things like that, and like how they kind of work it out. It's brilliant because like the only person who'd be able to work out a situation like this is Captain Picard, to be able to work out how to kind of understand the what the captain's on about, and then be able to kind of tell a story from Earth in the same kind of way then as well back to him and tell him a good story back. And of course the captain then is played by who, Sean?
The captain is played by the wonderful Paul Williams, who previously played Captain Clark Terrell of the USS Reliant.
Isn't it Paul Winfield?
As I said, Paul Winfield. I made this exact mistake before as well. Thank you, Chris. You're absolutely right.
I have the Wikipedia page up right in front of me for the stuff that I might be talking about. So yeah.
Oh, well played. You think I should have done the same? No, you're dead right. I made the exact same mistake in a video before. Paul Winfield. I'm so sorry.
Chris, you stole my thunder because I was about to lamp on Sean straight away for getting that wrong. Because anytime we've gotten something wrong, he enjoys reminding me that I got it wrong. So it would have been only fun for me to do the same back.
Right?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I have to say, yeah, no, I will, and I'll be looking now as the rest of the fundraiser goes on. But yes, so Paul Winfield, who of course played Clark Terrell, and of course was the police lieutenant in The Terminator.
Let us not
mention. We get to see them again.
Say again, Stephen.
Oh, I was saying I do appreciate that we get to see the that race again in Lower Decks.
Yes, absolutely. Kayshawn, he is brilliant.
Yeah.
Also,
and I love the little development that they have. They've worked the translation issues a bit more as well on Lower Decks, but they're still getting tripped up. Little things. It's so cute.
Wasn't there a change made in this episode for the remaster? Because I think when the Enterprise tries to take out the Temerian shields in the original episode, I think the phaser blast came from the torpedo bay, and then when they remastered the episode years later, they put it back from the main phaser array. But I always kind of feel that, hang on a second, if they're firing, a stronger weapon than usual, then it'd be a different kind of thing that they'd use. So, we've lost Stephen. I think starting, unfortunately, Stephen's right back. I always kind of felt that it kind of added more emphasis to what they were trying to do, that the phaser bolt came directly from the photon chamber. I'm probably the only person who knows this because I'm an extremely pedantic individual who would know these kind of stupidly random facts.
I haven't watched the remaster
because I've never seen the original mastering. So, yeah.
So are you both? So Chris, you've not seen the original version, and Stephen, you've not seen the remaster. Is that right?
No, I've watched my DVDs. So.
Oh, that's what. Sorry, I got that one. Yeah.
All right.
one thing I remember from this episode is, now, obviously, show, you'd be ready to correct me if I'm wrong. Is this one
Yes.
of the first appearances of that new filming model of the Enterprise D?
I think it is, yeah.
It's a much chunkier one. Or am
Yeah,
I?
it's a smaller one, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a. Not that there's anything wrong with the Enterprise D being a bit chunkier, by the way. Just so I am not shaming any enterprises out there. But yeah, because I do remember when I was
Certainly has
watching.
ample nacelles.
They have some fairly ample cells now. We'll keep it clean. It's not 9 o'clock here yet, so you know we'll keep it a bit clean. But I do remember. I also remember because every now and again, you know, you get an episode where you meet an alien race or you meet some sort of body, and you hear that that ship is just as strong as the Enterprise D. And every time I hear that, I'm like, no, it's not. The Enterprise D is brilliant. Don't say that. They'll definitely win. But the Temerians look like they could easily knock 7 rounds of out of the Enterprise.
Right.
Chris, that's your choice. Stephen, give us another one.
Another one that gets remembered for the wrong reasons. Friendship 1 from Voyager.
Justice for Joe Carey.
Poor Joe Carey.
Apparently, there's a rumor that he hasn't been seen since his last canonical appearance because they thought he killed him off in that last episode. And so they decided to bring him back and finish the job.
Oh my God.
What was actually?
That sounds about right.
What was his last episode again? But before Friendship 1, I mean.
Yeah, because Joe Carey disappeared for a long time. Like he was kind of prominent enough in the early kind of seasons, and then he just disappeared. And then,
I think he was featured in Shattered, but I think, which was a few episodes earlier. But I think his last timeline-wise was sometime after Basics.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds. I kind of have that period in my head. I'll basically just make think for Hogan. Sorry, go ahead.
Stephen, what was the story of Friendship 1 again? I'm trying to remember it, and I think I watched it recently.
A few years after First Contact, Earth sends out this warp capable probe, similar to the Voyager probes, with recordings and a message of greeting and blueprints, basically to build your own antimatter reactors. And this species in the Delta Quadrant is the last species to contact it, and they put themselves into a nuclear winter. It's an episode about unintended consequences.
Oh yes, now I remember.
Doesn't it open actually the episode? It opens in the past, like with Friendship 1 arriving in orbit of this planet.
Yes.
And this vaguely advanced species is like, oh, this is great. Well, what could possibly go wrong if we bring this down into the planet? Jump forward a couple of 100 years.
It is another instance of nanoprobes are Voyager's answer to everything.
What would Picard have thought?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It sort of puts a different spin on Seven and Picard's conversation at the end of Stardust City Rag in Picard. It's like, do you ever feel like you're ever truly, fully human again? And Picard's, no, but we try a little bit more every day. Arguably, he's tried a little bit harder than Seven has. Seven was like, kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of, I'm not Borg until it suits me.
Right.
Yeah. But what do you think of? Because this is a great one as well, and Star Trek does this every now and again. I'm thinking as well with Who Watches the Watchers is one that actually ties in nicely to this one, where you have Leto and his sort of obstinance versus, now forgive me, I can't remember the character's name, but the one who basically shoots Carey because he can't possibly believe that these guys will help. What character in this episode?
I think it's a very. I can see someone today making that decision. He's been trying to help these people. He's been helping these people survive for the better part of his adulthood, assumingly. And they've lived in fear that we're coming to conquer them.
Yeah, that's true. Is it? They've just been afraid that Voyager's going to rock up and finish the job, basically.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to interrupt for a second. The Shoveling Jedi has put a comment in the group I nearly started roaring laughing at, and it says Kerry was killed by the Vidians for his face. That's the best comment of the night so far, and your hands down, beautiful.
Also, I don't hear a bad word about 7. Don't worry, I have no bad words to say about 7. 7 is awesome. 7 is cool.
Chris, we're going to go straight back over to you. Give us another episode.
Okay, well, I'm going to stick with Voyager for a bit, and this might be a really weird choice to favorite, but Virtuoso.
All right.
Close at all. I love that episode.
Brilliant. Because I've always found that whole concept of a race not understanding what music is to be really, because I mean, music is one of the best things in my life, and just I love singing, I love listening to music and all that, and so for the Doctor then to be introducing this species to music, and then of course his ego getting a massive inflation as the episode goes on, because this race is just so in love with it. It's sweet, it's funny, it's bonkers. He almost leaves the ship to, I don't know, be an alien opera singer, and then they're like, actually, you know what, we can do this without you, so let's come up with some Fifth Element style piece. It's just I was watching the clip the other day, well, actually 2 clips. One of them was obviously that moment where the Komar, I think, was it the Komar? Have I got it right? Komar, yeah. And their lead scientist, Tinku, comes up with her own piece, and it's so physically impossible to sing it, and it just goes all over the place, and it's just mathematically it's amazing, but there's just no heart to it. Because there's nothing says heart quite like the Doctor singing to a miniaturized version of himself in one of the best out of context moments ever. I mean, I saw this. I saw like some random out of context Voyager videos before I got into Voyager, and when I saw that clip of the Doctor singing with himself, I was just like, what is this? Is one of those Star Trek is full of what is this show moments in terms of how crazy it is, and Virtuoso is all of that and more, I think.
I think as well, any episode with the Doctor is normally brilliant, because Robert Picardo is an absolutely phenomenal actor, and he's brilliant. But what's funny with him and so much in it is that he often feels he's above his own station. And I think at times he gets these wonderful, grand, illusions of who he is and how important he is and all that. And the same with this, like he's kind of there going, yeah, look, guys, I'm now a rock star. I'm leaving Voyager. I'm out of here. I've had enough of all of you for the last couple of years. I'm gone. As you said then, Chris, he goes and there to go, yeah, we've kind of replaced you now, so you can go back to your ship for all we care.
Back with his tail between his legs.
I love the his last fan letter.
From Seven.
Now that is, again, right in the communicators where that gets me. It's just like, and it's one thing that Voyager, I think, did very, very well, was that sense of family. Particularly between Seven and the Doctor. Like, this was a kind of family who actually likes each other, as opposed to the family on Deep Space Nine, where they can barely stand to be in the same room as each other. Still family, but very different.
Yeah, I think with Voyager as well, there's so many different relationships that different people have with different characters that make it really good. Like, I always like the relationship between Janeway and the Doctor, for the reasons of, like, the Doctor, as I said just a minute ago, he's always pushing for more. And, like, Janeway's trying to remind him, listen, you are kind of the ship's doctor, like that kind of comes first above all else, because if you're gone, we kind of have nothing left really here. And, like, sorry, as the Shoveling Jedi said as well, Living Witness is another brilliant. Like, you could go through nearly all episodes that have the Doctor in them. and by and large, they're all brilliant. Like Critical Care from the 7th season as well is another absolutely phenomenal episode with him in it.
I mean, you said that, it feeds his ego. I mean, his ego is pretty big to begin with. I think it is just people treating him like as his ego is big, as big as his ego is.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm actually appreciated versus just being treated as a light bulb.
But like when you think of it as well, it's one of the best arcs we'll see in Star Trek, because like when it starts off, like I'd say they didn't really know what to do with him, kind of thing, in terms of like what his character was going to be, because he was just a crusty doctor who was a hologram that they could just turn off at a moment's notice, like. And as the seasons went by, especially when he got his mobile emitter and control over his program, and like being able to become the emergency command hologram, whatever the exact phrase was. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there was so much development with him. And as you said, Sean, as well, like his relationship with Seven of Nine as well, and kind of helping her try and integrate and all that. It was a wonderful character to kind of have over the 7 years.
No, absolutely agree. Thank you everyone in the live chat who's chipping in. Neelix could be the new Doctor with Paris as nurse. For some reason, I just love the fact that in the long run, Neelix wins over Tom Paris, because they had that whole rivalry over, who got to go out with Kes, really, in the first couple of seasons, which is not at all problematic. She was 3.
Which...
So, Chris, that's your episode of Virtuoso. Stephen, what's your next one?
Magic to make the sanest man go mad.
Ooh. Okay. Bit of disco love. Love it.
I haven't seen this in a while.
I think it is probably the best episode of the first half of season 1.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And first of all, I love Ryan Wilson's Mud.
Yeah.
I think he captures what Harcourt is supposed to be. And it's able to be more blatantly Sid in modern television than it could be Sid in the 60s.
Yeah, he was very much like a kind of like just a straightforward comic relief character in, say, the original series and, say, the animated series as well. But at least here, there can be a real sense of kind of menace about him as well.
Right? And just, it really shows Stamets' growth, even since the first episode. Like, you see him smiling and laughing, and his reaction to Michael's secret. That she's never been in love. Like, you could see actual pain in his eyes for her. And it just... I think Paul is one of the greatest characters on the show.
Totally.
Not to steal thunder away from Michael, who is my favorite character in the show, but I think as far as the main cast goes, that's actually shown a lot of growth. I think Anthony Rapp plays him brilliantly.
Yeah, he comes across as very kind of like, I think what's great about him is he plays him kind of like he's permanently annoyed about something.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, when he does have a real kind of soft moment, you feel it more because of the hard line we see of him for so much of it. So like it's like, say, it's almost like a Battlestar Galactica thing where, Battlestar Galactica was constantly it was just punishing you as much as possible in a brilliant way because the show was excellent. But when you'd have a heartfelt moment, then it hit harder than if the show, and in this situation, the character, was softer. So that's what I love about Paul Stamets, is that when you get the emotion, you know how genuine it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just want to basically parrot you on that one, Joe. I think because he was so gruff and arguably unlikable in his first few appearances, to see the arc that he has gone through over the course of time, certainly this episode, it was a big step forward for him. But then just, I think, again, going into the second, losing Hugh, getting Hugh back, developing this family, it has been one of the pleasant surprises for me how much I like Stamets now. I really like Anthony Rapp anyway. I've loved him ever since Rent. But really, really like him now, I must say.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, go on, Steve. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, possibly one of my favorite scenes is Lorca's death montage.
That's hilarious. That is so good. good. I love the one where he actually is jumping at him as well, and he gets beamed out or whatever it is. Like he's so angry at him. It's absolutely hilarious.
Right? And it just shows that Discovery has a lot of humor. It's just
Yes.
naysayers who don't actually watch the show.
There is a fair amount of that, all right. Look,
Yeah.
everyone is absolutely like everyone's entitled to their opinion, and of course they are. And it's kind of the fun of it. Like there's episodes of the original series, Next Gen, DS9, Voyager that I don't like, you know,
Right.
and that's fine. And there's episodes of Disco that people don't like, and that's absolutely fine. But you've made a good point. Watch it if you're going to slate it. At least be informed. That would be it. If you have watched every episode and you still don't like it, then fair enough. You gave it a go.
Right?
Chris, we'll pass it back over to you. What's your next episode?
Right. Going on back to DS9 a little bit. One of my favorites is Facets.
Oh my
Oh,
word!
nice.
Yeah, no one's bring that up. Yeah.
Which one? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Facets from season
Okay.
3. I think, the idea of the Trill as a species is just fascinating, anyways. And obviously, the way Next Generation introduced it, but DS9 really, they really developed it so brilliantly. But the whole idea with like getting to meet, like, say if we all had like multiple lives across like generations, whatever, but to be able to interact with your past selves, the way that Jadzia gets to interact with her past incarnations is just. But the way that the whole thing starts, just getting everyone together and like, I'd like to borrow all of your bodies for a few hours. It's just such a brilliant cold open.
I actually just on that, because Jadzia is the Joker that she is, and also she is as positive as she is in so many things. That could have meant anything, really. You know, DS9 was really that kind of show.
I think as well, like Cisco as well. Cisco was brilliant in this when, like, he's playing one of the previous hosts, like, and
He's
it's
terrifying.
really, it's really terrifying because he's just so, like, I think we've discussed this before, Sean and myself, in terms of the most terrifying ones aren't the one who kind of raise their voices. It's the one who are really kind of calm and talk kind of calmly. And like when Cisco's talking, it's very calm. It's almost like, I'm your friend, come in here. But he's just, it's chilling, and it's absolutely, you know full well that if you release him, he's going to do someone a lot of harm. Like,
didn't they tell Avery actually to sort of like he had to like tone it down a little bit because he was too terrifying, too scary? I mean, that was just. I mean, the guy was like barely a whisper through much of it. It was just so. But I mean, we all know how brilliant Avery Brooks is, given the right episode. I mean, far beyond the stars. His breakdown is just the way he gives it everything. But anyway, the episode. But yeah, and where was I?
I think as well in Facets as well, it gives it gives all the actors a chance to do something different, like to try something different, like Quark being a mother to a child in it as well. He's doing that, and of course then as well as you've got Kurz, as Sean Byrne in the comments said, you've got Kurz on Odo as well, like, and it's just the way the head changes, the hair changes, the outfit is so kind of, glamorous, and it's exactly what you'd think Curzon is, because, we've heard the stories about Curzon over the years about, like, constantly going out, having fun, partying and all that kind of stuff. And it's no surprise at the end of the episode, he's kind of there going, yeah, I don't really fancy kind of going back in. I'm quite happy to be here. And Odo is kind of on board with this idea as well. And like, it's a good episode then in terms of, like, because Dax is a brilliant character anyway, but it's good seeing her kind of come to terms with all the different, hosts and things like that.
Well, I was actually just to repeat. I love, Quark was hilarious. The only one that's just like, my host has something he wants to say. How much longer is this going to last for?
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Oh, it's a great episode, in fairness. Stephen, back to you. Give us an episode that you like.
Stephen, you were muted there, my friend.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Go again, Stephen.
Sticking with DS9, Move Along Home.
Oh, Stephen.
Are you
I'm-
actually being
We better
serious?
mute that microphone again. Mute.
I actually don't mind Move Along Home, to be honest. So yeah.
I'll be interested to hear. All right, come on, guys. Let's hear the logic. Let's
There's
go.
got to be good justification here now, Stephen. Otherwise, we're going to have to boot you immediately from the group.
Honestly, I think it's a great look at just how used we are to things going a certain way. Oop. What did you do? I think it's a great look at how we're used to things going a certain way and how when that doesn't go, we just have no idea what to do.
Stephen, you're going to have to refresh my memory. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw this. What's the story of Move Along Home again?
It's when we meet the Wadi and Quark decides to, and they're a game-loving species.
Yeah.
And Quark decides to try and cheat them, and they decide to teach him a lesson by hijacking Bashir, Cisco, Dax, and Kira. And they put them in the game, and Quark's not aware until Odo says that these 4 officers are missing. Never mind, O'Brien's not in the episode at all.
And I think Jake is only in the episode so that he can be the one to let Odo know.
Yeah.
There's a scene at the start where because actually, full disclosure, I watched this episode last week. Sorry.
You
Sean.
what? Oh, dear God.
I did.
Good on you.
So yeah, and they have this lovely exchange in the beginning where Jake has started to notice the girls and the promenade because he's been hanging out with Nog, and Cisco's like, "Excuse me, you've been hanging out with who, doing where, and the what now?"
At this point, there was no school on the station, isn't that right?
Yes, there was. There's a passing mention that that Mrs. O'Brien is on Earth visiting family.
Oh, right. I thought that school was only towards the end of the first season. Start of the second season.
I watched it last night.
No, Stephen's right. Stephen's 100% right here now.
I watched it last night and prepped for this.
So what else, Stephen? What else are you giving us in terms of why it's good?
I'm going to get Trek canceled for this, but Ala Moraine is just such a fun song.
It really is. Hand on my heart. Avery Brooks. I mean, the way Avery Brooks looks like he's about to sort of, why am I doing this show? And yet he still sounds really good singing it.
I'm going to agree with you completely on that one. So, like, all Dax says is that, so Bashir figures out that it's the steps, but Dax figures out it's the steps and the words. And all she does is she says the words as she goes across, and that's fine. And Avery Brooks is like, all right, hold on now. Hold
my tricorder.
If we're doing this, we're doing this 110%, as he does anything. And he just delivers a concert. Sean, you're absolutely right. He's totally in tune.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, all right, okay, fair play. And I love Nana Visitor, who looks like she wants to punch everyone in this episode. Whether that's Nana Visitor or whether that's just Kira Nerys played the part. Like, I've never seen someone who's like, I need to fire my agent as much as she did in this scene.
Sorry, Anna has put a comment into the group saying, what's next? And it's the episode that we will not name. No, Anna, we're not discussing that. We won't even mention the name of the episode. I try my add. I think as well, with like what you're saying there, like it's
not that episode.
No, under no circumstances.
Don't mention the war.
Yeah, not a chance. The like it's their dedication to the cause. Like, it's one thing you can always say about Star Trek actors is they're dedicated to it, no matter how absolutely bonkers it is. Like, there was an interview there in the last year or two. Colin Meaney was on a talk show here in Ireland, and he was being asked about the technobabble and all that kind of stuff. And he kind of said, the interview asked him, like, did you feel stupid doing this? kind of means there. No, like, do you feel stupid wearing that hat? And like, it's great. It's kind of there them going like, we're dedicated to this. We're actors. Like, this is what we do, kind of thing. Like, and it's brilliant to hear them defend it. Like, I've seen every books kind of complain about the singing the song, the Alan Moraine song. But when you watch the episode, it's complete dedication to it. As you said, Sean, like, they're playing it in the way their characters are. Cisco's kind of there going, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous, but we have to do it. Kira is there going, I'm going to kill someone because this is nonsense, but I have to do it because I have to get out, kind of thing. So they're still dedicated to it, no matter how ridiculous it is.
And as I was watching it, I was reminded of how painful some of those early characterizations were, especially Bashir.
Yes.
Oh God, yeah,
I
definitely.
love Julian Bashir as a character. He's another one with a great arc, and
Yes.
I love Sadiq Al Fadil is so young in these episodes. I almost forgotten he was as young as he ever was.
Right?
And, yeah,
He still has that frontier medicine attitude.
Yeah.
And it took a wee while for that to wear off.
Yeah.
It did wear off and easily became one of my favorite characters. I have a lot of love for Bashir, but yeah, the early Bashir now is a bit like.
And in fairness, they used the annoyance well to develop the relationship between O'Brien and Bashir as well. Like, because Bashir is just kind of like a lost puppy. He just wants to be kind of loved, like, and he wants to kind of have a relationship here. And O'Brien just can't stand him, but he's saddled with him, and he can't get away from him. And I love, like, by
I think
season.
that's another O'Brien must suffer arc.
Yeah.
Being Bashir's friend.
Stephen, I'm going to have to say you're never allowed to pick an episode on this again. That's the end of it now after picking Move Along Home. So, Chris, it's over to you. What do you have? Save us with a good episode there, will you?
Well, I'm sticking with DS9, I think. And again, I'm hoping this hasn't already been mentioned, but Arman Bashir.
Oh
no, I haven't seen that in years, actually.
Oh, I watched it relatively recently. It's a great episode.
I mean, as essentially a James Bond parody as well. It really does work.
Yeah.
But again, it's they really do on DS9. They really get to play a lot with different characters, and having the virtually all of the cast play like parodies of like James Bond characters, and Garrick and Bashir having to play through the scenario, or else they all die because they're stuck in the transporter buffer, and it's all. But as fun as an episode it is, the way that it's a real sort of Garrick and Bashir story as well, in terms of Bashir likes to think of himself as something of a hero, and then Garrick is just, I mean, from his experience in the Obsidian Order, he really challenges Bashir a lot in this episode, and I think going all the way into any other Star Trek wouldn't have had Bashir go and actually shoot Garrick.
Yeah.
But it being DS9, it was just a real, really great moment in that development.
I think it's, again, it's one of those things, and there's so many holodeck episodes, and it's hard to kind of keep them fresh and keep them interesting. And like with DS9, especially in the 4th season as well, there were some really bonkers ideas out there that really worked really kind of well as well. Like, this is a perfect example of it. Like as Anna said in the comments here, like, every Brooks plays an absolutely wonderful James Bond villain.
Yeah.
He's completely over the top as well. Like, Worf is excellent as kind of the guy in the casino as well. And then what's Chief O'Brien? Is it the Falcon or something?
He's the Falcon, exactly.
Falcon, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Absolutely, just.
Next time, use something more lethal than a champagne bottle.
It's like, isn't it, like what you're saying there? I remember there's an episode of like, this can be the most random say kind of example you're going to get tonight. There's an episode of Danger Mouse. Now, I'd say a lot of people don't know of Danger Mouse or have ever heard of Danger Mouse. He was Yeah, so Danger Mouse's arch nemesis is Baron Greenback. But in one of the episodes, Danger Mouse is hauled in by his superiors, and they're kind of there going, "Listen, this Baron Greenback situation is getting pretty bad. Like, what are you doing about it?" And then they start reading out a list of things instead of arresting Baron Greenback. They're going, "So in this situation, you booted him into a swimming pool. In this situation here, you fired him out of a rocket." And they're kind of going through all of it, and they're there going, "Could you not have just arrested him and stopped him once?" And like, it's kind of like that when you're talking about a James Bond film. Like most of the time, like Bond will encounter the villain at some point and not kill them like he just should do straight away. I'm sorry, that's exactly what I thought of when you said about the champagne bottles. They're going, actually, that's completely right.
We're going to put you in an easily escapable and over-the-top situation where...
right after I explain my entire plan for world domination, which will give you the chance to stop my plan for world domination. But yes,
that's how this works. That's how this works. Peter, you're absolutely right. There was plans for a sequel, but of course, I believe it was Alexander Fleming's, I'm going to say estate. I'm not sure when the man passed away, or the Broccoli's possibly came to them and said, "That was nice. Don't do that again.
Never do it again."
But it's such a shame. Like,
Sherlock Holmes too.
It did happen. Now, they ironed it out with Sherlock Holmes, which is how we got Ship in a Bottle. But you're absolutely right. It was the same thing after it. That was fun. Stop.
Duchamp. Sorry, Sean O'Sullivan here. Duchamp. That was the name of Worf's character in it as well. That was absolutely... That's absolutely
such
brilliant.
a random name.
Isn't it? Yeah. And then, what's it? Keira Nerys is playing, what's it, a Russian
Anastasia,
assassin?
come on and off.
Oh.
I just love the parodies of those names.
It's just like, and we had Mona loves it as well. I mean, it's like, these are, oh my God, these are dreadful. Any one of these could be a character in a James Bond story. Literally any one of them.
Right.
Wouldn't even need to
Wasn't
have changed
Dax's something bunny or what?
She Honey Rider? No, I think that's actually a character.
Yeah,
Honey Bear. She was Honey Bear.
Honey Bear.
Yeah.
Honey Bear.
That says scientist. It really does.
As Joel said in the comments here, Avery played Hawk in Spencer for Hire. Yeah, that's absolutely right. He certainly did. That was back as well when he had the shaved head and the goatee, even before DS9 as well, I might add.
Yeah.
Chris, that's your one. Stephen, I swear to God, it better be better than Move Along Home. And if you pick Justice, I'm actually going to boot you out immediately.
Okay, all right. I actually have a good one that's widely well regarded. It's technically a twofer. I'm cheating. I learned from Sean.
That's how we do these things.
The Andorian incident and Shadows of Pijam.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, hang on. Actually, sorry.
Oh, no.
You actually have Andorian ears. Oh, of course you do. Chris.
Are we surprised?
I think we need to ask people in the comment section, does this classify as a costume change for Sean or not?
No, it does not.
Okay, it does not. Fantastic. Right.
I mean, I'm in the comments. I could say it there, but I'm on screen.
Okay, what's the love for those episodes, Stephen?
The introduction of the Andorians to Enterprise and basically the invention of the species, because we haven't seen them since TOS.
Yeah.
Or at least the movie era.
I see one in Star Trek 4, yeah, inside in the Federation chamber, yeah.
But actually characterizing them and giving us what we'll become to know, and just and just introducing Jeffrey Combs to Enterprise just was chef's kiss.
We were robbed that we didn't get season 5, that we didn't get main cast Jeffrey Combs. Robbed, I tell you.
Right?
What happened in the episodes, actually, Stephen? I'm not going to lie to you. I have very bad memory of Enterprise episodes.
In the Andorian incident, Archer finds Pijam in the Vulcan database and is like, a Vulcan temple, that could be fun, or at least annoy T'Pol. Which, let's be honest, is a large part of Archer's motivation in the first season. And so he decides to he Trip and T'Pol go down, and the Vulcan that greets them is kind of standoffish. Shock. But
I know.
Behind
that was the first sign something was wrong.
Right. But Archer happens to notice movement behind one of the slides, and decides to tackle the wall in a very Archer move.
I mean, you're right, but
So, and that kicks off the whole event of finding out that Pajem is more than just a monastery. It's a listening post where the Andorian, what are they? They're not an empire. Basically, the Andorian space.
Yeah.
And the fallout from that is in Shadows of Pajem, where we find out that it's basically a Cold War been going on between Andor and Vulcan.
Mm.
And the listening post has kind of put a spark to things.
Remind me, Stephen, is Shadows of Pajem, is that the one where it's Shran and they're trying to protect Saval, or is that a later episode?
That's I think season 4. Season.
Okay.
I could be wrong. My memory of Enterprise is spotty too. It's not one I've rewatched as often.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that because I definitely remember that storyline coming to a head, particularly the Cold War storyline. There was still plenty of button antennae going forward, particularly into season 4. I know the Romulans decide to stir things up as well. And I get to meet the Enar for the first time.
I get to meet them
We're
tomorrow.
acquainted with that.
Oh, and your rewatch, Chris, is it?
This is my first watch of Enterprise. Actually, I'm halfway
wow.
through the. I started a few weeks ago, and now I'm on. I've just got the second half of season 4 left to do.
Oh, lovely!
Oh, my word.
It's good. Second half season 4, it's strong.
It's a shame we got nothing after Demons.
I am dreading that final episode even more now than before. I read about it.
Chris, it's never a good idea to read about that episode. Like, there's no good will come from it in any shape or form.
What are you talking about? Demons was a class episode.
Watch it once and
Yes,
never
it was.
again. That's probably what it'll be.
Yeah, it's to say that you've seen. Listen, I was going to say, just actually, Sean O'Sullivan, you're absolutely right. There was a season 5 episode planned. It was called Kilkenny Cats. It was planned with the Kzinti, and I love the Kzinti. Sorry, I'm just putting that because I love the Kzinti, and they're in Lower Decks, and it makes me very happy.
Sorry, just to interrupt. What episode of the animated series were they in?
The Slaver's Weapon.
Well, Slaver Weapon. Yes, correct.
Slaver Weapon, yes. Yeah.
Guys, we've got 5 minutes left in this stream because we're going to have to, because of the YouTube algorithm, guys, we're going to end the stream and then we'll just restart it. So basically, you'll see us come back up in a second. So without further ado, Chris, give us one more episode to wrap us up then for our stream for tonight.
I really hope this hasn't been mentioned again, but Q-Who.
No, we didn't actually mention that.
Actually, Sean, we have failed. This is a great one. Yeah.
I mean, Q-Who as being one. I mean, yeah, it is properly. It is widely touted as one of the first, along with like Measure of a Man, and one of the first like next gen episodes that really sort of ups the ante a bit. But I mean, this one is really. I mean, to have Q back, and him basically throwing the Enterprise into the path of the Borg for the first time, and just seeing them like, it doesn't matter what you do, the Borg will just keep on coming after you, and just the way that they just keep on chasing after the Enterprise, and it's just like they're not slowing down, they're not battered in any way, and it's just the chills of that. And this is even before the assimilation in Best of Both Worlds. I mean, I wasn't even alive when this episode aired, so but to have been around to see that, as like if it would have been chills.
I think as well, like what we were discussing there with In the Pale Moonlight, I like at the end of this episode that they're again willing to just kind of go with it. Like when they return, when Q sends them back, and Picard is, basically kind of saying like, what the hell, like, piece of my ship has been wrecked. We've, lost crew members. And Q is basically there going, if you can't take a bloody nose, like, you have no business being out here. Like, and it's a real kind of terrifying ending because it's basically they're going, these, like, they'll come and find you again, like, and they'll be more ruthless the next time. And it's great because it doesn't end on like a positive note for the future. It's a very kind of, you know, depressing kind of ending. Like it's a very kind of intimidating episode, I think, and really kind of shows Q as kind of like, there's no, how to put it, you can try and argue he's kind of there going, I'm doing this for the benefit of mankind, but at the same time, like, just also trying to show you that you're not ready for what's out here.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely you get the Loki feel off him here, that he's amoral, that he is doing a good thing, but 18 people are dead. What's that to a god?
Yeah, exactly. Now, guys, as we're wrapping up, I'm going to ask a very simple question of everybody here. And guys in the comments, you may as well start throwing it in now because we'll be losing very quickly on the stream because we have to shut it down for a second. Is favorite episode of Star Trek? Be it a movie, be it an episode. And Stephen, we're going to you first.
I think Trial and Tribulations. Just the amount of fun they have in that episode.
That's Stephen. Chris, what do you got?
Oh god, this is just this is torture.
It's the easiest question, Chris, you're ever going to get asked. In fairness, like, there's only 800 episodes. Like, how hard is it to pick number one?
Okay, random episode. Haven't said it, but I would probably say Cupid.
Oh,
yeah.
great choice.
Yeah,
great choice.
I love Q. I'm just fresh off of Star Trek Picard season 2, episode 1 with Q coming back. It's just yeah, Q forever. But Cupid is just such a fun episode. It really is.
Cupid's brilliant. Cupid's absolutely brilliant. Sean, what's your favorite episode?
Well, I've said it already, but it's The Visitor. Is my favorite. Absolutely, hands down. Love it. Show.
Easy for me, the Journey to Babel from the second season of the original series, an absolutely powerhouse of an episode, absolutely brilliant. That's absolutely mine. Anna in the comments says she can't decide. So there you go. Anna, you've got a few minutes to decide because when we start the stream again, you've got to tell us what your favorite episode is. So guys, I'm going to wrap it there because what we have to do is, for everyone online, we have to just quickly shut down the stream for a minute and then we're going to restart and we're going to have another show on. I'll come back to introduce it. But for the time being then, we're going to say goodbye to Sean for a couple of hours. We're going to say goodbye to Stephen and Chris for joining us as well. And guys, thank you so much for watching so far. Thank you so much for donating. The night is going to continue. So I said, I'm just going to drop the stream for a minute, but keep an eye on the channel because the next video is going to go up pretty quick. So again, guys, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I will see you a little bit later on.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Goodbye.